And one of the issues is, if you've ever applied for a firearm, you have to check a box whether you've ever been, institutionalized, suffer from a mental health issue. It's meaningless. If you lie on that and say no, but you have, there's no way for them to confirm any of that because it would be violation of HIPAA rules and regulations. So there's no meaningful background check for mental health issues. We have to double down on the existing laws, not create new ones. I think a baby step towards more meaningful background checks, and that doesn't mean a national registry of firearms. I'm not supportive of that. But meaningfully having a background check to make sure that firearms stay out of the hands of dangerously mentally ill or sick people is a way to stop these mass shootings.
Yeah. You'd think with the way technology is at this point, there would be a way to help weed out some of the people that have had mental health challenges in the past from purchasing firearms. And I mean, I get it that you're not going to get everyone, and sometimes that somebody might be going through some problems and hasn't encountered any treatment or haven't had any run-ins with the law yet. But there's so many that have that just kind of slip through. So I'm with you over there. The two things that annoy me the most, I think, as far as political discourse, are the slippery slope argument, and it's not just guns, but guns is where you hear it the most. Be like, we can't stop terrorists and the mentally disabled or the mentally unstable from getting weapons, because then who's next? I hate that, and that you see it in used in all kinds of other areas. And then this other thing that I think's become really pervasive recently is the whataboutism.
I'm State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better state. We are one of the fastest growing and most reviewed insurance agencies in Wilmington. That's because our customers love the personalized attention that we give to you. Let us help you get to a better state by visiting our website at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Government has become too big, too overtaxing, and is constantly overregulating every aspect of your life.
If you agree with that, tune in to Consumer Choice Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM with me, Yael Osowski.
And me, David Clement. For an hour, you'll get expert analysis on what the government is sinking its teeth into next and how you, as a consumer, can push back.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Welcome to the Asylum. Everybody else seems to still be asleep. Are you even there, Todd?
I'm here, man.
All right, then. I'm glad we said something.
There's a crisp 39 degrees, clear skies. You are tuned into the Asylum on the Big Talker.
Online. That's right. We are the Big Talker Online. It's colder than we want it to be, obviously.
I've got a little latency in my headphones.
I warned you about that in the email for Christ's sake. Do you not know how to read the English language?
Oh, I can read.
Can you comprehend
I didn't
what
get the
you
memo,
read?
man?
Did I not tell you specifically there was going to be a delay in your headset?
I don't like
I will
it.
call up the email. In fact, right here it is.
You should have played Echoes by Pink Floyd, because that's what I'm going to be listening to all day.
Yep.
Echoes.
And that was not
in
Pink
my
Floyd.
headphones. That would have been a more appropriate song.
But that was not Pink Floyd.
Do we have Dustin with us?
Well, I don't know if he's paying attention, but I think he's there.
Good morning, Dustin.
I don't think he said anything.
Oh, we got technical difficulties already. It's going to be a great morning.
Yes, so
It's gonna
far
be one
so
of these
good.
days.
Dustin. I don't know if he can even hear us.
Check the mic. Mic check.
Well, at least mine works, so that's all I care about. Spoken like a true American, I'm worried about my stuff and not yours. So, Uncle George.
Who's Uncle George?
Uncle George Jetson, who
George
started the
Jetson.
entire space-loving childhood memories of a cartoon of the future we were supposed to have.
Yeah, that's right. George Jetson's supposed to be born August 27th, 2022. So that means somewhere, I guess he's getting conceived right now.
Now, that's a party I would like to be at. Ghislaine's going to be there. Prince Andrew's going to be there. The 4th grade choir.
Well, it kind of puts into perspective, you know,
Yep.
how close we are. We've still got another 40 years to get flying cars.
So this also means that Astro would have to be...
No, dogs don't live that long. George is like 40 in the Jetsons.
He's that old?
Yeah. Maybe in his 30s.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
hopeful because he's not an obese, worn-out 40-year-old man. I mean, a lot of 40-year-old men are not in their best physique.
Well, it's the future.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
I mean, all this canned food, and didn't they have, like, Thanksgiving
I'm pretty sure the
dinner was in a
robot
little
did all the
pill,
cooking,
they add
didn't
water
it?
and it goes poof, and you
Yeah.
have we don't have that yet.
No. We
have
kind
Tang.
of.
Well, yeah. And then there was that weird astronaut ice cream. Have you ever had that?
I've never had astronaut ice cream.
It's ice cream sandwich, I think it is, and it's made out of air gel. It's really weird. It's like the white stuff is, it looks like styrofoam, but it's really sweet and it's really dry because there's no moisture in it.
It sounds kind of good.
You can get them from the Air and Space Museum in Ohio, I believe. They're like $5 a piece, and you know you feel like a real clod downing this piece of dry styrofoam.
I keep seeing Dustin's signal cop up and down. Are you with us, man? Oh, it said he's gone away. Looks like you tried. I seen signal.
I'm with you now.
Oh, excellent. Hey, man. How's your morning going?
I have life.
We're working on it.
It's alive.
I heard something about
It's
flying
alive.
cars.
Something about what?
Flying cars.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
talking about the
George
Jetsons.
Jetson is to be the spermatozoa and the egg are going to meet this weekend.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
The
George
DNA
Jetson's
that is
birthday's-
George
Steve.
Jetson will be brought forth. And Cthulhu was happy.
parents out there, your child could grow up to be George Jetson.
That's not a bad thing.
Your grandson will be Elroy.
I mean, we need.
I
new
mean, do you
space
guys
doctors.
really think
Jane, your daughter
in our lifetime we're going to see flying cars?
I
Yeah,
don't
we
think
call
that
them
they trust
airplanes.
us enough to give us flying cars.
I just think we have.
I think
our
that's the reason.
Ideologies completely messed up. We have flying cars. They're called airplanes.
People can barely drive a car. What
That's-
makes
I
you
am-
think they're going to trust us to get in the sky and do anything?
I mean, Futurama warned us of that.
Pilot's license.
Where is his issue coming from?
When you fly around cars, you're going to need a pilot's license. FCC is with the radio. I'd imagine they're going to have to fine-tune with how they take care of the flying cars.
It's only getting worse. I'm about to lose my mind.
It's rather entertaining. Meanwhile, I'm just sipping my coffee.
As the Aussie said,
Well, I put a lot of time into getting this thing trying to work, and of course, it's all stolen, busted gear.
It's hot. That's how pirate radio
apparently
works.
there was a shooting,
There was a shooting.
the 3000th block of Market last night.
It was on Market
around
Street?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock p.m.?
Yeah,
What happened? Do you have details on it?
there was one injury. It was a shooting. We were talking about the shot spotter the other day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they found out about this one. Shot spotter went off around 7. Authorities arrived. There was an injured man over at the Chick Lady.
Your signal
it's like a
keeps coming in
fashion
and out.
mark.
We're trying to fix it for you, Dustin. Hang tight, buddy.
I don't know if I can get it any better than that.
You could
I
fix
just
my
need to get
bank
rid of that.
account too while you're over there. That would
Yeah,
be
I
great.
just need the last 4 of your social security, your mother's maiden name.
I gave that to the fine gentleman from the spam call earlier.
Oh,
He said he
excellent.
was going to give it to you guys.
I actually gave it to the guy who was selling me the extended car warranty. He needed it to verify my ownership of the vehicle.
Do any of you guys just mess with them when they start
I
calling?
keep giving them the information, but they keep calling back.
Right. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You already have my information. How do I need to verify any further that it's mine? I mean, don't you have the credit cards
And they
that you're
have the
calling me
best-
about listed in front of you?
Customer service.
Well,
They really
that
do.
I'm going to Walmart.
I mean, because when you tell them you're not interested, they hang up on you.
I'll tell you what I've been doing is I've been pretending to be a senior citizen every time they call. They'll say, "Hello, which credit card do you need? You want what?"
Oh, then they
And they
start
get all
sharpening the
excited,
balance,
and then once I break character, it's usually somebody really ticked off on the other end. Oh, they're cussing up a storm at me. But man, if you have the time to do this, it's brilliant, hilarious.
It's like, hey, could you please take me off the list? They're like, oh, he's on to us. Hang up.
Well, technically, they're not supposed to be calling you in the first place, so I don't think that the list matters.
Well,
I
heard
remember I
that's-
don't recognize
I heard
it.
you could.
I answer as,
You could sue
hey,
them
caller, you're
if
on
they
the
call
air.
you more than 3 times.
I wish I could send an electrical charge through the phone line and just, anytime they
Little
go,
phantom power on pins 2 and 3.
yeah.
You ought to rickroll them every time they get on there.
Yeah. Never gonna give you up.
Now, some of my favorite heroes on this planet are the guys that are doing reverse. Like when they dial into your computer using AnyDesk or whatever.
Oh yeah.
These
You
guys
showed me
have a
videos of that.
virtual machine reverse the connection and then completely wipe out their machine
Yeah.
while in character the whole time. What do I click on now? I'm not so familiar with these computer things.
Yeah, and then they turn
And
on
the
their
entire time
webcam.
they're just like destroying their computer from the inside. Then they do a syslog, and it's like, go ahead, restart your computer. Go ahead.
Eat that, hacker.
Some of those guys are.
I mean, I'm getting robocalls from all over the place. Wisconsin, Indiana, Texas.
What I like is when they spoof my mom's number. It's like,
It's a
I know that's
concerted
not my
effort
mom.
to piss me off every day.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that call. That's gonna be a given. Yeah, I was like, nah, that's
But
not something I'm excited
in
about.
other news, I know that you guys you might remember 2015 on Highway 17 there was a horrible accident and a family had 2 children taken from them. It was a pregnant woman. Her one child died.
That's
Her other
awful.
child died. She had to be airlifted. It was a terrible accident, and the driver apparently was one of the first drivers to have fentanyl.
You're cutting in and out, buddy.
Apparently, the driver was one of the first people around Wilmington to be found with fentanyl in their system in Pender County.
I'm not sure if it's your end or my end, but it just sounds unintelligible. Try it again. Bring them up. All right. Yeah, that's just, there is no definition. We cannot tell words. So, apparently that part of our technology is completely out of order. I'm not sure what we have left for that now, but we are going to take a moment and
Your
take
mic's
a
not
caller.
even coming through, dude.
Hey, caller, what's on your mind? Nope, the caller has disappeared. So I'm not even worried about it. But we are, gosh, bless it. I wish you would stop sending me stuff that's at the wrong time in the wrong format. It does not help me at all.
TK, your mic's not on. Calm down.
So apparently, in
I can hear him.
Folks, we all know ongoing road construction and traffic can weigh heavy on your vehicle. Since 2006, O'Leary's Automotive Repair has provided comprehensive repair services at affordable prices to get you back on the road in no time. Their ASE certified technicians will help you find a cost-effective repair and maintenance alternatives. O'Leary's has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
I'm K.O. Davis from K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree, and I want to be your tree man.
When your trees need cut, 2 letters to know. One is a K, the other is an O. K.O.
Tree man. Proper trimming is the most important thing that you can do, so don't just hire anybody to do it. You need someone that knows what they're doing.
K.O.
Call the professionals at K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree and visit KOTrees.com.
Listen to Tom Goolsby on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
The Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association serves as the advocate for the building industry, advancing professionalism and promoting community involvement. We are a positive force for responsible growth while protecting property rights and the privilege of home ownership. 3 out of every 5 jobs is touched in some manner by construction in our region. Growth generates jobs, maintains our property values, and builds and updates our infrastructure. Join us Friday mornings for the Construction Connection with the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association and the Big Talker FM.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I'm here.
I know the subject I we left off on wasn't a happy subject. But I was reading the article yesterday, and
At least I can hear you now.
apparently the family is a very Christian family.
Of the victim of the car crash. Let's get back to what we were talking about. So
person
there was a
who
car
wrecked into
crash
the
on
car.
Market Street. Someone was pregnant.
It was in 2015 in Sloop Point on Highway 17.
Okay.
You might remember it.
No, I don't remember. A lot of accidents happen out.
Bring in the airwing helicopter.
No.
But anyways, the family, after all these years,
I
chose
think
to
we're gonna have
forgive.
to just abandon this and go
Chose to
with just
forgive
you and
the
me
guy.
because this is not working. This is just not working. Take him out. 'Cause I can't listen to that. I'm sorry, Dustin.
Why
We
don't
gotta
you get
find
him
another
to
solution.
call in and
This is absolutely crazy.
until you can get that sorted out.
Yeah, we got to come up with another solution there because that's just not working. But I do know that there was a shooting in Michigan High School yesterday, killing 3 students.
Yeah, that was awful. I saw the video on that from inside the classroom, and it looked absolutely terrifying. They had all the lights off. They had all the kids. The doors were barricaded off, and somebody was knocking on the door, and they were telling them to open it up. Now, it's been a while since I've been in one of these situations in school. You know, I'm in my 30s now, but as far as I can remember, it was supposed to be an intercom announcement with an all clear before any of the teachers were supposed to open the doors. And the scary part of this is whoever was outside the door sounded like they were pretending to be a police officer, to the point where it said open up the door, and the teacher said we don't feel comfortable doing that. And then all of a sudden the voice on the other side of the door said, nah, come check my badge, dude. And that's when one of the students was like, that guy just said, dude, that's a red flag, that's a red flag. And they started pouring out the windows. It's a scary sight.
And that's where we're at. The only scary thing I remember from high school was like the fire drill. 'Cause that thing was loud.
Yeah.
That we never had drills like that. I mean, I would have been moved at, like in Boy Scouts, they taught us about Epicac. Have you ever had Epicac?
Yeah.
No, you saw it on Family Guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You saw it on Family Guy. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was brought to our attention.
Inducing
through
vomiting?
Boy Scouts.
Okay.
And that's probably the most traumatic preparation that we were given as students back then. That was it. And now you have to do shooter drills.
Well, this wasn't a drill, man. This was
Right,
the real
but
deal.
obviously they drilled beforehand so they knew what to do.
I'd hope so. Absolutely hope so.
That's certainly not where I want to go.
Well, it's better be prepared than, the alternative.
What, everybody's utopian happy?
Oh.
Where people don't feel a need to overdose on drugs because their life is so miserable. That we actually have people that spring out of bed and want to go to work, want to go to school, want to face the world, and be happy little campers.
Well, it's not all sunshines and rainbows, TK. You know that.
Oh, I know that. But we can do something about that.
I keep seeing his thing going up and down. I'm going to try and bring him back up. Dustin, you there?
Yeah.
Still, call in, buddy.
Well, then I don't have a call-in, and I have to call guests.
Okay.
That's why I'm completely beside myself with upsetness.
I gotcha.
Because I have been working towards these solutions, and
But if another call comes in, you'll see it. We can just drop him, correct?
I concede I may just go back to automated programming.
Huh.
It's
going to be one of these days, ladies and gentlemen.
But, we have, 2 listeners at this point? I'm all right with that.
All right.
We're just trying to keep the thing alive and without a lot of
Dumpster
help.
fire.
And a lot of, taking their own initiatives. It's like, well, that's not helping me. I have nothing to work with. And, of course, all the news that keeps popping up on me is nothing we can have fun with on a wacky Wednesday. Shootings and deaths and fire and drug overdoses. That's a great way to start the morning, don't you think? Yeah? Yeah,
drama
let's do
makes
more.
the world go
Let me go
around.
find some more movies or more news stories on dead people.
Drama makes the world go around.
Yeah, and that's what we really need more of right here on the Big Talkers Asylum. That's what we're about, is all the dead people overdoses. Because there's nothing happy or fun in the world anymore. Isn't that awesome? I mean, we were going to riff on, what's his name that's now in trouble, Mel Gibson.
That happened actually a long time ago.
Oh, and now we're bringing it up again. Okay, that's why you showed it to me this morning. All right.
Man, who peed in your cornflakes?
Yeah, well, this is a morning.
Huh.
Trevor Noah thinks Republicans are behaving just like COVID-19. Oh, that's a joy.
How so?
I have no idea. I'm just, Travis Scott's offer to cover funerals rejected by more families. So, Travis Scott, another hero of the American.
As far as
population.
Travis Scott goes, Travis Scott should have absolutely stopped that show.
Nobody in this country should know Travis Scott's name.
Well,
just like Paris Hilton, nobody should know that name. There is nothing good that has come from these people.
There we go.
Yeah, well.
You there?
I'm going to be on phone. There you go.
You there?
Can you hear me better?
Oh, a lot better.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Headphones
it's not
keep
your
buzzing
fault.
in and out.
Yeah, we're going to have to come up with a better schedule.
This is how pirate radio works. You got to work out the kinks.
I tell you what, this would be a good time to solicit donations. Because if you're listening to the Big Talker right now in the Asylum in the morning and you would like better quality sound and a more jovial engineer, throw some money at the Big Talker so I can get rid of this Fisher-Price mixing board.
Well, they've cut the resources since we've hijacked the program practically. I mean,
well, I literally absconded with the equipment, and they asked me afterwards, what do you plan to do? And here we are.
I'm going to get some insane guys to join me on phone calls in the morning.
I'm going to need more phone lines.
To drive the public crazy.
Yeah, and what's cool is there's no longer just our little corner.
You went over there and you looked him in the eye and said, I'm captain now. I am captain now.
Look at me. Look at me. I am your captain now. Look at me.
Superman 2, I think it was? Or
Kneel before Zod.
That's what I'm saying.
Son of Jor-El, you will kneel before me.
That's what it felt like.
Planet Houston.
And if the community doesn't like this and they want it to stop, send the money. Just send the money.
Yeah, it'd be like
Give
my
us
high
our
school
demands,
band.
and we will leave.
Our high school band played for free, no cover. But if you left before our show was over, it cost you $20. So if you could make it through the end of the concert, it was free. And if you had to leave early, it was $20. And we made a lot of money. That was also the one and only time that band played.
Wow.
But it made money.
Wow.
Well, while I have a good connection, I've been trying to tell this story like 3 times now, and it's like God doesn't want me to tell
About dead people?
No,
Yeah,
he was
it's about
talking
the-
about
well,
an accident that happened in
There's a dead person
Hampstead.
involved.
It
Okay,
was
go ahead.
2015. It was a big wreck, right? And it had a box truck. It was terrible. It was a long time ago, but it was a big deal out in Pender County because, I mean, it cost the life of 2 kids. And it was one of the first drivers in Pender County and New Hanover that had fentanyl in their system
Oof.
when they got in the wreck. And at the time, it wasn't we didn't really even know about fentanyl. They couldn't even charge the guy with driving impaired because fentanyl wasn't on the schedule of narcotics. It took Pat McCrory to go after that very wreck, to make fentanyl an illegal substance in North Carolina.
As it should be.
And that's as it should be.
So it wasn't scheduled at the time that the wreck happened.
Oh, yeah, they thought
But they could still
fine.
charge him as a
It wasn't-
DUI because he was messed up on something, correct?
Well, after he was arrested, and all the officers said, oh, he's not impaired. But when he went into processing and when he went into jail, he complained about his stomach, and he admitted he was coming down with withdrawals from heroin. And that's when they were like, well, he admitted to it. And he had THC and fentanyl in his system that they could trace. The heroin, that was out pretty quick. But it's the THC and the fentanyl. So that was one of the first reasons why we kind of spotlighted on fentanyl. And it took the life of 2 children. Now, the family, the father was a preacher, and they have 2 other small boys. Now, so they have 4 children. Now, 2 children died in the wreck. The other 2 lived. And it's very sad. But even after all those years, the family forgave the driver. Like, they forgave him. They didn't want to even press charges because they said the guilt of killing the children would be enough. I read that article last night. You know, as a father, it hits you. Like, I'd be crazy. I would have gone nuts. Like,
That's tough,
terrible.
man.
It is. And I remember that wreck. It was right there, over there by the Amoco, Sleep Point Loop Road. There have been a few wrecks out there.
Yeah, I feel like somebody like that should be sitting behind bars staring at a blank white wall for the rest of their life thinking about what they did.
You know, for me, a good week is going through Hampstead and there not be a wreck.
Yeah, there's a lot of accidents in Hampstead, and as much as I was against the bypass initially, it's getting out of hand. I mean, it's been out of hand.
Speaking of bypass, they're talking about making Gordon Road a 4-lane road now.
So Gordon's going to be expelled. Well, there's a lot of traffic jams on.
Well, that
Gordon
hasn't
right
even
there,
started.
right?
Once they connect that to 140, it'll be a nightmare. It'll be a blessing, but yeah, it'll be a nightmare.
I tend to avoid Gordon Road during the rush hours.
At 5 o'clock, that place, it moves as fast as old people dance.
Hey, I feel attacked.
They dance. They dance.
To dance?
As old people dance. Let's say it like that.
I thought you were about to quote Full Metal Jacket. Get off my obstacle, Private Pile.
I thought I was going to get attacked again for being old.
You are old. We're all old here.
Oh.
No,
As long as you're with us, you're young.
Half my age talking about, oh, my back.
So this guy that was involved in the accident, before we digress too much, was he let go?
Back to the dead. He's probably
No, he
walking
wasn't
around.
let go. The family didn't want to press charges, but
Well, I hope the
DA,
state
Ben
does.
David, oh yeah, that's the thing. The state was like, no. Nice try. He's going to serve time. Oh, they were like, he's going to serve time.
Hopefully hard
Because
time.
it's the point. But it took that, plus Pat McCrory, going up there and railing about fentanyl to even make fentanyl an illegal substance. I mean, that goes to show how new fentanyl was. I mean, this is 2015.
And the scary
it's been
thing is
cycling
that
around here.
more and more of these types of fentanyl things that aren't scheduled yet are going to be popping up. Imagine in the future. And that this could happen to anybody.
And it comes over here, and it's like the overdoses, they keep getting worse and worse and worse, and fentanyl is more common. And it's like, I don't even know where a dealer would sell pure stuff that isn't cut with fentanyl. Like, gosh, the $1 million question right there. Who's the trustworthy drug dealer, right?
Well, the one with a degree who comes to mind.
He cooks out of a Winnebago.
I would prefer a brick and mortar building, but because when I was a kid, there's a medicine that's no longer on the market called Marax, M-A-R-A-X. You should look it up. It is an intense pharmaceutical grade speed that was given to asthma patients such as myself, that when you give incredibly powerful pharmaceutical grade speed to a 12-year-old with a BMX bike, he is going to pass traffic on the freeway. And that's, people are amazed that Mountain Dew has absolutely no effect on me. And I'm like, you don't understand what I was munching as a kid. Mountain Dew is caffeine. My body just looks at that like, yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty sure Mountain Dew is your blood type.
It is now.
Dustin's
I'm
too.
right there with you, man. Oh, yeah. I can't help it, man.
I bleed
I don't
neon
do coffee.
green.
I can't do coffee, man. I always hated coffee. And everybody's
can't.
like, you're fucking, you're weird.
And TK, this coffee is fantastic.
Okay, so the secret is French pressed, 100% Colombian Arabica beans.
Colombian.
That's right. I still swear that the Colombians were doing nothing but trying to be helpful to the world.
So you get it from Colombia, and they don't cut it with fentanyl, right?
Correct. I do that myself. They just ship it in one big box. I get my cannabis, my cocaine, and my coffee all in just like one big mess. Add water, makes its own sauce. It's great.
They drop the canister off by the port for you. Pick it up and bring it home.
Yeah, and it's wrapped in. What's funny is the coffee is wrapped in coffee to keep the dogs from
smelling the coffee.
The coffee mixture.
Oh.
The energetic mixture they send. That's it. The medicinal. But anyway, it's time to hear from our friend, Mr. Jeff Rivenbark from WWAY News. Oops. Who will be bringing us all the latest in news and weather.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. Authorities say a 15-year-old sophomore opened fire at his Michigan high school yesterday, killing 3 students, including a 16-year-old boy who died in a deputy's patrol car on the way to the hospital. 8 other people were wounded, some critically. Investigators are still trying to determine a motive for yesterday's shooting at Oxford High School. The boy's father brought the gun used in the shooting on Friday. The House panel investigating the January 6 U.S. Capitol insurrection is preparing to vote on pursuing contempt charges against a former Justice Department official. The vote, expected later today, comes as the committee aggressively seeks to gain answers about the violent attack by former President Donald Trump's supporters. Jeffrey Clark is a former Justice Department lawyer who aligned with Trump as he tried to overturn his election defeat. Clark appeared for deposition last month but refused to answer any questions. Meanwhile, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has agreed to cooperate with the panel on a limited basis. Wilmington police are investigating a shooting that happened last night around 7 in the 3000 block of Market Street. One person was shot and taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The investigation is ongoing, but police say this is an isolated incident. And several agencies are collecting donations and household items for family who lost their home in a Tabor City house fire earlier this week. The Columbus County Fire Marshal says a 9-year-old girl who was sleeping woke up and discovered a space heater on fire in her bedroom early Monday morning. The 2 girls and 4 adults escaped from the home. Monetary, household, and clothing donations are being accepted at 4 locations: Tabor City Emergency Services, Bear Bluff Fire Rescue, Lake Waccamaw Fire Department, and Tabor City Fire Department. The town of Tabor City has also established a GoFundMe account to collect donations for the family. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. It's December 1st, marking the start of meteorological winter, and it's certainly not going to be feeling like that today as temperatures jump into the upper 60s, a few degrees above the average for this time of year. And we're going to stay dry and quiet heading into the overnight hours as well, and our temperatures not going to be as cold as they have been the previous few nights. Temperatures will be dropping down into the low to middle 40s overnight for coastal and inland communities. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey, I'm Yael Osowski.
And I'm David Clement.
We're the host of Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Consumer Choice Radio is a weekly conversation featuring the latest news, interviews, and expert analysis that covers consumer topics from around the world.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. Tune in Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for Objection to the Form, covering civil litigation, real estate issues, and intellectual property. That's Objection to the Form, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Don't everybody talk at once.
We're back.
You lost me, now you found me. So.
I gotta give you guys the
Well, TK, hold on a second.
Well, you
Back
need me to
in
do that
81,
again?
right? I would, as much as I would like it, I gotta ask you a question. Back in 81, did you catch pneumonia or some strange disease or something?
He wants to know why you didn't go see Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
With their original lineup
And
with
Psychedelic
the
Furs?
psychedelic furs.
Oh no, I had to work. Believe me, I was not happy about it. That would have been so much fun.
I would have called out sick. That's like a golden opportunity, man.
It would have been.
I would have called my boss and told him, I can't come in. I would have made up something. I would have been there.
Unfortunately, my boss is the person who brought that show to town. So there's no way I can call in sick and appear at a different show as a civilian.
You're stuck there.
Yeah. I'm more mad at that person because they didn't put me on that show, because I could have been working Psychedelic Furs, Depeche Mode. As it was, I ended up being a civilian at the KMFDM 9 Inch Nails show with Ministry. That was intense.
The Ministry?
Yeah,
well, not the Ministry.
But Ministry, 9 Inch Nails, and KMFDM. That's one heck of a bill.
Dude, when we rolled up to the venue, there was a line of ambulances.
9 Inch Nails, yeah.
9 Inch Nails in St. Louis.
9 Inch Nails in 81.
No.
Oh, no, this was 88, 89, 90, 88, 87, 88.
Pretty Hate Machine.
Goodness.
Somewhere around there. I think his second record or third record had just dropped.
Who?
Trent Reznor. But yeah, when I rolled up and I saw all those ambulances right there by the emergency big door exits, I was like, yeah, this is my kind of place. I had my leathers on. And the thing is, the girlfriend of the time, wonderful girl, still love her, she actually encouraged the bloodshed. I think you kids call them mosh pits.
We do call them mosh pits.
Rush the front.
Yeah. And I tell you what, all that martial arts training came in handy.
You saw Trent Reznor in the 80s.
Yep, late 80s. That was... But you couldn't see much. I mean, the light show was, spastic. It was beautiful, but you couldn't... I couldn't see my drink in front of me.
I was but a mere babe at that time, man. Oh.
Oh, it was so much fun. Oh, the stories I'm not allowed to tell because, well, I don't want anybody to go to prison. Well, I'm sure the statute is run out by now. 'Cause, I mean, just the shows that Todd and I have, you and I have done, what, 60, 70 shows together?
At least.
And between the Muse and the club that shall not be named.
In all fairness, none of them should be named, but...
Yeah, but at least one of them paid us.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't feed us, though.
Well, so they've all been stricken from the record, though. You choose not to speak of any of them, right?
Well, some are legendary, like the Tiger in Louisville, Kentucky. I think the Muse, the Toilet, the Throne, isn't that what it was called?
The blue-eyed something by the river.
The blue-eyed Manic. Some of these
We
clubs
can talk
are their
about the
own.
throne room, right?
Right.
Because they're not here anymore. I remember when Todd, he called me and he's like, they need security over there at the throne room. I show up, they hand me a shirt, and they're like, whatever you could do to help. We're like, okay, sure.
That was during a
And
transition
it was hell
period.
yeah.
We lost a lot of good employees there.
So did you end up sweeping the floor?
Oh, hell no. When you do security, a lot of times at the end of the show, they're like, okay, half the people's gone. Hey, you're off work now because we're not going to pay you anymore.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
they
I
were
would like security
yeah.
all the way up until the point that my tail lights are leaving the parking lot.
What was his name? Chad Kroger was still up on stage with that red mohawk, screaming and everything. And they're like, oh, no, you can go on home. You can go on home. It's okay.
Oh. Now, the one show where I felt the most safe and comfortable in that decrepit building was when the Micro Wrestling Federation kids came to town.
Oh, man.
That was so much fun. Have you seen midget wrestling, Justin?
I've seen it, but I've also heard from Todd the fun that comes with handling a midget wrestling show.
Oh, yeah, I worked one a couple of weeks ago. I conveniently left my work ladder by the edge of the ring. I said, if you guys want to use that, just go ahead. And you know what they did?
They used it.
Yeah, little dude flipped off the top rope, landed right on a trash can. It was awesome.
Todd's looking like Andre the Giant when he walks in there. Like,
Oh, so I remember after the show, we're going to Slice of Life Pizza across the street, and you have to cross Market to get there. And I forgot that being 6'1", my stride is a little longer than a 3'2" person. So it almost looked like, do you remember the TV show The Partridge Family?
It was before my time, man.
Do you remember the big bird goes across the screen and these little birds are like scurrying to keep up?
Is that what it looked like?
Yeah, like
when I looked behind me to make sure they were still like with me, it was the cutest little thing. I was like, oh shit, if I say anything, they are going to break me like a twig.
Yeah.
Because every one of these guys was on probation for assault. That's why I felt safe. I'm like, as long as you're not mad at me, I know I'm protected. I mean, 7 angry dwarfs? Come on, Snow White had it made.
At least they weren't wrestling dwarves.
Yeah, man.
You had Minnie the Rock, Minnie.
We had Steve-O
over there.
Steve-O, he came back. He's actually not wrestling anymore due to some injuries.
Yeah, that dude was broken when I met him.
And
there's Ryan.
Ryan is with a different promotion.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
But he was also a good performer.
He was good on the mic. Yeah, good mic skills. That's part of the show, man. In wrestling, is what you could say on a microphone.
Oh,
you have faces, which are your
Were you
good
there
guys.
when the kid, he was like 12 years old?
He wasn't a plant. They just handed a kid a microphone.
No, he was a
He
plant,
went off
dude.
on half of a promo.
No, he was scripted.
He straight Stone Cold Steve Austin them.
It was awesome. Next time we have one of these shows, we're going to have you for security on this
I think
thing,
midget
Dustin.
wrestling is going to be coming back to Hooligans in Jacksonville sometime soon.
Do you guys put the the drum mic underneath?
Believe it or not, the ring was loud enough that I didn't have to put a mic under it.
Because I did that at Muse.
Well, it depends on the wood they use. It depends on how cushioned it used. But this particular last ring, it was loud enough you didn't need to put any mics on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's with all, 75, 100 pounds of them getting slammed on it.
And
I mean, do they call it midget wrestling? Is it labeled midget wrestling?
It was MWA. It was Midget Wrestling Alliance
Federation.
or Micro
I
Wrestling
remember
Alliance.
Micro Wrestling.
It was, and then they split, and it's still Harley.
So it wasn't WWF.
No.
No.
Okay.
No, it was much funnier than that.
And it's good. These are all good guys. They're all hard workers. They get out there. They put their bodies on. You could say it's fake as you want all day long, but
Well, I was
it
told-
hurts.
I was always raised to call little people midgets, right? Nobody ever told
What's
me
a politically
midgets were
correct
a thing.
term so I don't get in trouble?
I think it changes.
The little people.
I don't know what to say. I'm 5'7" on a good day. So
You're
I mean,
like
come
borderline.
on.
If you stand up straight, you're
I
you're
just
an
can't
adult.
wait to
And
see
if you
Wilmington
slump,
ripping
you're
me
a midget.
apart for talking about midgets on.
Well, you're not going to get in trouble. Because all you got to do is slump over and you fit right in.
Well, I don't know, dude. I towered over them. It was cool. I could go over the top rope without on a normal size ring. I got to go through the middle, but on this ring, I could just step right over.
Step over it like a. What are the curbs? Never mind.
And the first thing I
I'm
did
just
when I got in that
I-
ring is I dropped a elbow, Macho Man Randy Savage style. And let me tell you, that did not feel good.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah, the platform that I saw them load in looked pretty vicious.
Yeah, and they all loaded it in.
Yeah, that little army was amazing.
Wooden planks like 10
And the iron
times their
turnbuckles
size.
and stuff. I mean,
Oh man.
top to bottom. And I think it was Ryan.
The Wrestling Federation.
Micro Wrestling was the one I did. Micro Wrestling Federation. And in fact, I think it was
okay.
Ryan that my friend Jennifer fell in love with. I have pictures of them on their engagement
Oh, it's
party.
a match made in heaven.
It was awesome. Her mom freaked out. It was all in good fun, but I don't think the health insurance would cover it.
Well, I mean, they actually have a sport called midget tossing.
I don't know if that's a sport.
They changed it from dwarf tossing. Nobody tosses a dwarf. Don't
gonna
say
have to
anything
toss
to the elf.
Don't tell the elf, yeah. My dad said he went to one back in like the 80s. Where they
Oh,
tossed
that must
midgets.
have been completely off the chain.
Oh, yeah, and he said the little people were happy about it. Like, toss me, you know. Like, okay. They were all liquored up, you know.
Another Family Guy episode comes to mind when they were shooting the midgets out of the cannons.
I don't remember that one, man. I only watched the first few seasons of Family Guy. It
Oh,
got
you missed
repetitive
out on an
after
entire
that.
cultural revolution, man.
Now
I'll
all
tell
of
you
a
what,
sudden,
kids,
you know, it's
we're going
like,
to take a break, show some love for the people that have been showing us love. And, well, had I had it a little more together, this would have been an interesting way to...
At least you're in a better mood now.
well, I am. I mean, I have to...
I thought I was going to
concede.
have to take you behind the shed and beat you for a minute.
You're not tall enough.
You see a faded sign at the side of the road that says 15 miles to the left.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
One Love Tennis started in 2013 to give back to young boys and girls. We now go through 460 kids a week that are learning about life skills, learning to succeed in life through academics and tennis. Putting those two together, if you do them well, you can write your own ticket. To get involved in this program, go to our website, one-love-tennis.org.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
I'm Rob Renz, Marine Corps veteran, entrepreneur, and local business owner. Join me and my buddies on Monday from 6 to 7 for Signal Fire Radio, where we discuss how to successfully transition from the military and become a signal fire in your community. That's Signal Fire Radio, Mondays from 6 to 7 p.m. on 106.7 The Big Talk.
Government has become too big, too overtaxing, and is constantly over-regulating every aspect of your life.
If you agree with that, tune into Consumer Choice Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM with me, Yael Osowski.
And me, David Clement. For an hour, you'll get expert analysis on what the government is sinking its teeth into next and how you, as a consumer, can push back.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
O'Leary's Automotive Repair has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
Real music from real musicians.
I think you said Travis Scott was a real musician. You love him.
Gonna talk some midgets to you, Scott.
That would be Airborne. I guess, yeah, airborne assault has a whole new meaning. Right? A flying, fighting dwarf, that would be airborne assault.
Unidentified flying person. Yeah.
I think now I'm going to have to do some research through Jen's ex-fiance and see if we can't get one of these guys on the air and ask them directly.
I can arrange that.
What do you want to be called besides Steve or...
Well, just Google what the political correct term is.
I don't trust Google with wokeness
I do.
in the 21st century.
I do.
Okay.
It's probably people of little stature or little people.
Little people, big world.
I'm not trying to pick on them. I'm not trying to be mean.
No, well, we do that anyway. We had a show. What was it called? Big people, little world,
people.
Little people, big world.
Little
Didn't
people,
that
big
guy?
world.
Didn't that guy cheat on his wife?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I remember watching that show. Right?
What a scumbag!
I remember watching that show, and it's kind of like the 600-pound people show. You know, you watch them, and it's like they have a show because they're little people. I mean, you're watching midgets. And I remember I was watching it, and my dad comes in, and he's like, "Why are you watching that?" I'm like, "Oh, you know, it's a little people family." And he's like, "Yeah, but why? Like, why are you watching that family?" And I was like, "I guess because they're little." He's like, "So you're watching them because they're little? What makes that so special?" Like, my dad pretty much kind of brought to my attention, like, you're watching them because they're midgets. He's like, if you want to go to the damn circus, go to the circus. I turn on the
God.
You know, and it was like, and I was like, well, you know, I mean, they're a family. He's like, yeah, but people are laughing at them. People are picking fun of them. People are watching them and all their financial problems. I mean, every other episode, the guy's talking about how he's almost broke. He's almost broke. Meanwhile, he's buying all types of stuff for his farm.
So wait, they lived on a farm?
Oh, they had the whole setup. Every episode, you're watching this guy drive around in a golf cart with his family, and he's telling a bunch of contractors what he wants built in his farm. And I can't remember. He was like making like a water park or something.
Oh man,
whole
scripted
theme
reality
park.
television at its best.
But yeah, then he got caught cheating on his wife. It's like, not only are you a little person, man, you got little crutches and stuff, and like you cheat on your wife.
Not only are you a reality star, you're a scumbag.
Well, that's encouraging that these people have the same problems we do, and then some. They can't get the cereal from the top shelf.
I can't get the cereal from the top shelf.
And it's so much fun to watch.
Oh. It is what it is, man. I'm just the way God made me, TK. Oh, come on.
Everybody should be proud of the way God made them. It's just, I hate when they get a camera and they shove it in front of people, and it's like, hey, we're going to watch you because, and the guy probably got excited. He's like, because you like my family? You like what I'm doing here with my property? Sure. Or, and then he's like, yeah, that's exactly why we were going to bring a film crew here.
Well,
and we need to sell some candy
exactly
bars.
why we're doing it.
It's the same thing with this Midget wrestling thing, but I'm a big pro wrestling fan.
I remember. I think it was Ryan came back to the soundboard after his skit was over, and I'm running the sound, and I'm in serious trying to figure out how to run sound for midget wrestling. So I'm in serious mode, making sure my EQs are right and such like that. And Ryan's sitting there next to me, and watching, and I asked him, "Is it okay to laugh at this? I mean, wouldn't that be offensive to be laughing at a midget who's now like a puddle on the stage?" He's like, "No, that's how we make our money. It's meant to be funny."
Man, I got to tell you, I wasn't laughing at all, man. I was more laughing because it was so freaking awesome. Those guys put on better matches
They put on a
than
good
some of the
show.
stuff I see on pay-per-views, dude. Like, I mean, one guy came out
Man,
with a
wrestlers
staple
like
gun.
that. Wrestlers like that are in short supply.
Oh,
I see what you did there.
dude.
I see what you did there.
Oh, this is why you should drink coffee, for Christ's sake. Wow.
We couldn't take hits and slams like that with our stature, man. And I could not catch air like that. I saw that video you sent me where the one guy jumped off a ladder, and it was like, I thought he was going to float up in the air, man.
Onto a trash can.
Now, the physics is amazing. There is a YouTube video where the dude is doing physics on how it is that they can move the way they do in air, because their center of gravity is in a completely different space in respect to their body.
Right.
So when they flip, they're actually rotating around the center of mass, and it's unusual to us because our center of mass is much higher.
Right.
So when they flip, it actually looks like a fidget spinner in midair. It's
Science.
unnatural. It is unnatural.
Well, we were talking about the guy from the show and how he cheated on his wife, and it's like, hey, you're a scumbag.
Yeah, what a scumbag.
That brought me to an idea. Like, you see these reality shows and stuff. I'm waiting for them to make a reality show that says redemption, where they go around to all the people who have been canceled in reality shows, and they give them a chance. And maybe when Joe Exotic gets out, he could have an episode. Billy the Exterminator could have an episode, since he was canceled. I mean, give shots of redemption.
I think it was TMZ, and I think the show was called Smoking Gun. And it had.
Can't say, man.
You remember that?
That's just where they fire shots on them. But they shoot on each
Took all
other.
the
That whole thing.
disgraced celebrities. Who was the skater that broke the other skater's leg or whatever?
Oh my God, Tanya Harding.
They had her on there. She was one of the people. The dude from Different Strokes.
Which one?
The dude who got busted for cocaine.
Which one?
The older one, not Willis.
What you talking about, Willis?
And not the dead lesbian either.
What?
Yeah, you remember Dana from Different Strokes?
Oh my God.
Yeah, she ended up doing some sex scenes in a interesting movie that, I mean, you could skip it and your life would be just fine. But yeah, she ended up overdosing in a RV outside her parents' house, I think. Not long after that show went off the air. So are those the kind of people, or are you thinking the ones, you know, like the really bad guys like Mel Gibson and David Hasselhoff?
I don't know
Well, I
if
guess,
Mel
yeah,
Gibson's
it
really such a bad guy.
I don't think he's that bad. I think he's served his time.
Well,
And,
I think his daughter would
you
argue
know,
that.
Well, so would Alec Baldwin's daughter, you know. I mean, you look at the things he called her. Oh, is it a fat pig? You know, I would never call my kid that. That's just...
Wait, so
like,
Alec
you kinda
Baldwin's
lose it when you
allowed
say
to
it.
call people that?
He's a celebrity.
Oh, yeah, he called his daughter a fat pig, spoiled. He said when he got there, he was going to teach her a thing or two about respect. Oh, I could shoot on Alec Baldwin. And apparently he could shoot back. Yeah.
Not very well. He might miss the
With
mark.
his cross draw. Yeah.
You know, I think he'd be better at cross-dressing than cross-drawing. But I don't know these things. I mean, it's been a long time since I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I've never seen that movie. Once I figured out
I
what it was
remember-
about, I'm like, I'm just going to leave that alone.
I remember the first time I saw that. It was in Job Corps. And they were having a Rocky Horror Picture show-off. And everybody was going over there. Everybody was going over there, and they're like, "Oh, we're watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show." And they're like, "It has Tim Curry," and I'm like, Tim Curry. Yeah, I know that guy. I love his movies. I'll watch it. And I go in there, and you know, you see Meatloaf and all these other people, and then comes the cross-dressing stuff. And then I look around the room, and I realize everybody's gay. And I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on,
I
oh.
don't
And
think
I
that
was
that
like, hey, I'm
statement
gonna
is
go
entirely
outside.
accurate.
I'm gonna
I
go
was actually
outside
part
and
of a
catch a
Rocky
cigarette.
Horror crew, and there was a remarkably low percentage of gay people. There was a lot of theater people that just wanted to, you know, play. But
Now everybody does the time warp. Like
Right.
even I did the time.
and dressing
Like, I
up
got
in that
pulled in and
cosplay of the time, that's, I mean, it's gay in a sense that we're not allowed to use anymore.
And there were a couple toads over there. You know, the butler guy.
Yeah,
you know, They
right.
dressed up and everything. They had
That's Rip
They
Raff.
had the wig with the missing hair.
Richard O'Brien, man, that dude's a genius. And they came from Denton, Ohio, I think was the
I've
original
never
title
seen
of
this.
that play. Before Richard O'Brien wrote the music and the songs, and oh man, made movie magic. But anyway,
Oh, I love
Not my cup of tea, not for me.
we are gonna show some love. Be right back.
The way I describe it for people is my dad shot himself and the bullet hit everyone in his life. It was a week before my 30th birthday, and I had this impulse to call him, but I didn't because I thought I could call him later that week.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. With safe gun storage, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Was your home damaged by Hurricane Florence or Matthew? Repair, reconstruct, or elevate your home with help from Rebuild NC. Find out if you are eligible for assistance by calling 833-ASK-RBNC. That's 833-275-7262. Or apply now at rebuild.nc.gov/repair.
Out of sight, yeah. Listen, are you hung up?
It was strung up.
A little bit of Zappa.
This is what it's like in my head.
What, Frank Zappa?
No, what you're hearing. Are you hung up?
Well, that explains it.
Are you hung up?
Multiple people talking.
You might want to
all
talk
me,
to
though.
a doctor about that.
I mean, one voice in my head is yelling about the mixer. One voice in my head is yelling about the stuff I have to do downtown. I have to go back downtown today. So all of these conversations are going on at once. And the inside of my head looks like Gary Busey on a bad day.
Gary Busey. Before or after the motorcycle wreck?
After.
Ooh. Man.
I'm sorry, his
So
role
Gary
in
Busey.
Under Siege was amazing, I thought.
I thought he was getting
Under
Point Break.
Siege.
Or isn't that the one where he was
Yeah.
with Tommy Lee Jones? No. The Seagal flick.
Yeah, that's Under Siege.
Thank
you. Yeah, Under Siege. He's on the Navy boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's all crazy.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Tommy Lee did a great job. It just, wow.
Tommy Lee Jones is a fantastic actor.
And his work in
yeah.
Men in Black 2, when the talking dog looks at him, or is talking to him, and he turns around in the car, that face is just classic.
Yeah, half the time he just plays himself, and it's excellent. You know, have you seen Space Cowboys?
Oh, yeah, I've seen Space Cowboys.
I love Space Cowboys.
I saw Cowboy
That's one of those
Bebop.
movies you can just rewatch.
That's Clint Eastwood, man.
I still haven't finished Cowboy Bebop, but Space Cowboys, I did finish that.
I definitely finished that movie.
I finished it like
I
a
remember
bowl of
they-
cereal.
Wasn't that Donald Sutherland in that?
Oh yeah, James Gardner. Oh yeah, man, and then all those guys I think are still alive. Correct? I think James Gardner.
Wait,
I'll tell you a good Don.
James Gardner, the PI guy, what was his role?
Oh, Rockford Files.
Rockford Files, that's right. He had the cockatoo and the Beretta.
My grandfather looked just like that guy.
Wow. You had
Yeah.
cool grandparents. My
I didn't
grandparents
get those
looked like
looks,
Jesse
though.
Helms. All of them. Which is a good thing that I was adopted. I brought like a whole fresh pool of DNA to the scene.
See, I will say, my father adopted me too.
Yeah?
I know. Oh yeah.
Were you on sale like I was?
Yeah. No, I was a package deal with my mother.
Oh.
You know? So, he got my mother and
Like
I
a
kind of
2-for-1.
came with the deal. Yeah.
You get a wife
I was
and free
included
labor.
in the purchase.
All inclusive.
All inclusive.
And you got good at making dinner, didn't you?
No. I never really got good at making dinner. You know?
Oh, so they didn't abuse you
I
enough.
No. I mean, the only thing I had to learn to do was, like you said, some manual labor.
Hold the
Like,
flashlight.
cooking was I mean, and that reminds me, speaking of my father, when I came home last night, right? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I start decorating for Christmas in the middle of November.
I don't
Sometimes in the
decorate.
beginning of
I
November.
celebrate fests.
I hate you.
I put up an aluminum pole.
Oh, no. Before December even hit, I was like, everything needs to be up and it needs to be perfect. I put my house into a competition for Christmas lights.
Get down. All right.
Those are mighty fine lights, Clark.
But when I'm coming home last night from work, I'm about to pull in the driveway and I look down the street and I see all these other Christmas lights at somebody else's house. Like, I look at my trees and they're lit up, but this guy's got like blinking LEDs, so I keep driving past my house to the other house. And I'm like, what? He's got everything in his yard. I mean, and he came out of nowhere. Like, this weekend, he must have been like out there all the time putting up stuff. And I'm like, how did I let this guy sneak up on me like this? I got a rep to keep here. And then I look down there, and this guy's got outdoing me and stuff. And
He's
I'm like,
one-upping you.
no.
Swagger jacking.
Yeah, I got to make a trip to Walmart, man.
Dude,
I
it's not
gotta
like
reinvest.
CPL's rolling down the street handing out awards. They're just raking in the cash with every outlet you plug in.
Well, I got an idea from TV. I was about to call a fire marshal on him and be like, hey, that guy's got some bad extension cords.
Yeah, there is fire code on running extensions, isn't there?
Well, civilians are going to do what civilians do.
Yeah, but
I mean,
And, everybody was driving by, and I could tell they hated my lights a couple weeks ago. They
now
hated
your
them.
lights look
But
great,
now-
man. You got a
now all
projector
of a
going
sudden-
on, man. It looks good.
Now, all of a sudden, everybody slows down. And I should have thought this through because I'm a paranoid guy. When a car slows down in front of my house, I'm like looking where my gun is. I'm like, who's this? And then the wife has to remind me, like, you put Christmas lights up, you idiot. Like,
you put a target on
they
the
stop
house.
and they look at Yeah, they stop and they're looking at the lights, and I'm about to roll out there like, what do you want? Get off my
man,
property!
I've
and
seen
then I'm
Home
like,
Alone.
oh,
I know
man.
how slow rolls go during the holidays. It was the sticky bandits, the wet bandits.
Well, that's why I got the projector of Santa Claus in the window, because I'm hoping, like, maybe they'll think it's a real Santa Claus, like I'm alone. If I'm not here.
We can't break
But,
in that
yeah.
house. St. Nick's in there.
Well, I got one thing that the McAllisters didn't. Well, two things. I got a dog and a gun.
Critical defense
The
round.
the sticky bandits would be the bloody bandits if they came over here.
The sticky and red
But the
bandits.
McAllisters, the McAllisters, I don't even think they had an alarm system. Like,
They had a BB gun.
yeah, that was their son's. It was not theirs, and they probably didn't want him to have it.
Or they were responsible parents and they had it locked away from their 6-year-old.
Wait, responsible? This was
No, they
an
weren't
American
responsible
thing?
parents. They left their kid behind and they went over to where? France? Yeah. I'm sorry.
But he didn't leave his gun behind. No, he kept that with him. But his kid, I forgot about that. I
Model
care what's
citizen.
important. Model citizen.
In that movie, the fact that he was able to come up with that many ideas, I mean, granted, it was the writers who came up with that idea, but those ideas. But if the child, like in a real world situation, would be able to put that much together.
I'd hope they know to call 911.
Nine what?
But that's the cool thing. The kid stood his ground. And
Right.
Then, I love that movie.
And then he
Like, I love
MacGyvered
it because
him. He or she MacGyvered all that.
He kind of tortured them.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
What
as he
is
should
the
have.
one
But
thing a
that's the
9-year-old boy loves to do to a moth? He's gonna rip the wings off and watch it.
Not me. That's the first signs of a serial killer, my man.
No, it's when you do
yeah,
it to
but
mice.
these moths are trying to break in your house. And Joe Pesci was going to bite his fingers off at the end. Remember? He's like, I'm going to bite your little fingers off, Then the old man whacks him with the shovel, give him the El Cabong. Yeah, he was about to eat that boy's fingers. That's probably screwed with Macaulay Culkin. He's like, every time he tries to go to sleep, he pictures Joe Pesci trying to
Joe
bite his
Pesci
pinky off.
actually did bite one of his
these
fingers.
stinky gloved fingers.
I think Joe Pesci did bite one of his fingers. He said, "Yeah, I got a scar from it."
Eats hot sauce.
His gold tooth got stuck in my fingers, man.
Digging in.
Yeah, the parents didn't have a dog. They didn't have a gun, but apparently they had a blowtorch that he could tie up to the back door or something like that. So and it's like, why did they have a blowtorch? I don't know.
Well, he was dabbing in his off, during break.
I don't think dabs existed then.
No, it's just dabs weren't available for the regular people like you and me. Back then,
But the
it was for the
McAllisters,
elite
they had money.
celebrities. I mean, just
Yeah.
like, well. Anyway.
I
He
digress.
probably found it when he was going through Buzz and stuff.
Ah,
Yeah. Buzz's girlfriend, woof.
Which one
Buzz's
was Buzz?
blowtorch, Buzz's dabs.
Buzz was the older brother.
Yeah,
You know these characters far too well.
I've seen this movie way too much.
Ah, it's time for some Cowboy Bebop for you, my friend.
The Christmas movie that I've seen more than any other Christmas movie is Die Hard.
Die Hard, 1 and 2.
I might not consider it a Christmas movie, but it is.
I watch them like back to back.
Now I have a machine gun.
And we could relate. We could relate to Hans Gruber right now because we have hijacked a radio station and we're pretty much waiting for our
I just don't want to
demands,
fall
you
out
know.
of a window, thank you. Please send money.
Nakatomi Towers.
You mean the Capitol record? But yeah.
And the bad guys are so good.
I like the one in number 2 when he's like crawling through the vents under the
Number 2,
runway.
he was in the airport, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this again. Just genius. And yes, I think
Bruce
both
Willis-
1 and 2 are both holiday Christmas movies. Even though
Bruce
he's
Willis
supposed to
gave me
be
hope.
in Dulles Airport in Washington, the telephone says Pacific Bell.
Huh.
Little errors. Little errors. There's also a couple of errors in the scene where they show the drop-off area. And there's like a llama and some fake snow and some guy walking by in a t-shirt and shorts. Everybody else is supposed to be bundled like it's freezing. And I think it
Yeah,
was
that
an
kinda
errant
takes me
PA
back-
on his way to catering that just walked right through the shot.
Die Hard 2, that's the one where they have the military guys doing the operation. And
That's where they brought back the
Tracing them
dude
together.
from
Bill and Ted.
Dynamite. What was that show? Good Time. They brought back the dad from Good Time.
I like how they had the Reaper from Bill and Ted as the bad guy. What's wrong, McClane? Get off my plane!
No interviews, Pinko.
Yeah, he kicks him off and he's like, "You're damn right." What's a Melvin, McClane?
Officer John McClane.
Yeah, John McClane gave us hope, man, because of his hairline. It's like, even though we're going bald and we're in our 30s, there's still hope, man. There's still hope.
Well,
like when my hair's all jacked up and people could see my widow's peak, I'm like, I hope I look like John McClane right now. Yeah.
Now, do you remember Live Free or Die Hard?
That was the worst.
With the guy from I'm a Mac, I'm a PC commercial.
Yeah, that movie was absolute. 3 wasn't bad, but
It was the funniest.
Yeah, no, that
and I
was
think,
terrible.
I think the one that caps it is the one done in Russia.
That one was pretty bad too.
It was horrible, but it's hilarious. I mean, that's why when you get to this part of the franchise where they have completely run everything out, that's when it gets.
Well, at least Bruce is getting worse. Work.
Well, Die Hard, I mean, once it's like the hair. Once he shaved his head, the series is over. You're not John McClane anymore. You're just Paul Bruce Willis. Like, John McClane had the widow's peak. He would not let go of his hair, no matter how little he had. That was the thing about him.
Not like
John
Kelly
McClane didn't give up. He did not give up, even with his hair. And that's what really inspired me with Bruce Willis in Die Hard.
Right on.
I'm not giving up the building. I'm not
go,
giving
girl.
up my hair.
That's why I've always wondered if his name was pronounced Rogan or Rogaine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to make a fun little announcement. We are going to have an amazing guest after this break. His name is Andrew Donaldson. He's been a friend of the Big Talker for a very long time. And mad respect, this man has a command of the English language that very few people can appreciate. And he's also probably the scariest smart guy you will ever meet in your life.
Like a Bond villain?
Yes.
Well, man.
If you had to compare him to a Bond villain, which villain would it be? Talking about Drax here?
I'm not quite to that level
I've
of
never met the
ability
guy.
to compare. But if I were to say,
He might just be a normal genius, not an evil genius.
yeah, certainly not evil. Yeah, certainly not evil.
But I think we're gonna
But
try.
scary, like you would not understand what this man would be capable of doing if whatever line was crossed. That's the closest into words I can put it until we introduce him. But unfortunately, I need to hijack the phone line, which
Well, we're
means
gonna
our
try
friend
and bring him-
Dustin will be listening on the app.
We can try and bring him back one more time, but if it fizzes out, just 86 it.
We'll see what happens.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah?
I think, Dustin,
Shut
we're
me
going to
off.
send you one more.
So everybody,
cut me
including the
off.
public, and I guess I feel better with being honest with these people that this might work, this might not. But we're going to give it a shot.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
Hey, this is Matt Ham, co-founder of Uprint and the co-host of Wake Up Our Faith, every Saturday and Sunday right here in Wilmington's Big Talker. We invite you to join with our nonprofit movement by participating in the Portable Faith Community. This is a $10 a month tax-deductible contribution, and you get access to daily encouragement, resources, as well as our prayer community. You can go to wakeupmyfaith.com to get subscribed and learn more. That's wakeupmyfaith.com.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Do you have questions about money, career, or relationships? Are you not sure how to make progress on your goals? We're here to help. The Ramsey Show is a caller-driven show where we'll give you a practical, clear path to win with money, and we'll give you hope in all areas of your life.
I'm State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better state. We are one of the fastest growing and most reviewed insurance agencies in Wilmington. That's because our customers love the personalized attention that we give to you. Let us help you get to a better state by visiting our website at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Listen to Tom Goolsby on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Seems I'm a little ahead of the clock. So, we are going to speak of many things here in the next few minutes. Andrew Donaldson will be with us. as soon as I connect with him. I seem to have called about 3 minutes early, and the man is on an incredible tight schedule, so I need to make sure that I don't ruin that relationship. Because this man is a genius. For all the idiots that we are at the asylum, because we are, this
speak
man
for yourself, man.
Yeah, I am speaking for you. Absolutely. He's an author. I think that's what really influenced me the most, was his amazing command of the English language. I guess you had to be there. And he's also really funny. And he's a lot smarter than you and me combined. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And he adds a lot of legitimacy to the show. Yep. But the poor man is incredibly busy and probably still in a meeting, making policy changes that are going to affect your life and mine in much ways that'll be better. No? Rats. I am a little early. And I wish I could get this to stay with us. We have more coming. Our friends over at WAY providing us with a news feed that's keeping us up to date with what's in town. I really appreciate that. A lot of support for what we're trying to do over the next few weeks. Again, we are in the beginning phases of a transition. Nope. That one broke too. Let's try that again. Because if he doesn't remember where we are, I don't remember where he is. And it's real annoying to have to do this each time. You get to see what it's like behind the scenes.
Man, you have MacGyvered
Dude,
what's
there
left
are
of the big
so many
talker
cables
together.
running across this table.
And it is working.
Yeah.
You got it held together by duct tape, but it's still running.
Powered by coffee. Definitely. Well, anyway, now we're all alone.
We are.
Adrift in a sea of inability. And I'm going through my news feed, hoping I can find something fun, but none of it is good, people. I mean, George Stephanopoulos to interview Alec Baldwin in primetime special following Rust shooting. That's a headline. That's a headline.
I feel like I've...
Tupac's bodyguard's hard drive expected to fetch at least 6 figures at auction.
Well, what's on the hard drive?
What I want to know is how it became separated from the computer. Like,
easy.
The bodyguard's not dead, is he?
I don't know. Is he?
Because that's, I mean, oh, no. Check this out. I may have to put this.
Looks like Marcellus Wallace's soul.
Isn't that? Check this out. I mean, I gotta show this. Let me see if I can turn this on. I know I can. I do this all the time. Get off me. Thank you. I know I can.
Yeah, it's just what's on that hard drive. Pictures, videos, some music on there. I mean, why is it expected to fetch 6 figures? Is there an unreleased Tupac album on there? I mean, do share.
I'm getting there. I want everyone to see this. This is crazy. All right, so this is the article right here. See, Tupac Shakur's right-hand man bodyguard has a treasure trove of Pac-related gems that are seeing the light of day for the first time and are expected to fetch a pretty penny. The late rapper's ex-bodyguard, Frank Alexander, who has also since died, just to fill you in, once had a computer hard drive in his possession that is said to contain an unspoken amount of content covering all things Tupac, including unseen photos, unheard music, and legal documents giving new insight into his life.
Well, yeah, somebody will pay for it, make a documentary.
This has got to be the closest to selling someone's soul that I've ever seen.
That's what I said. It looks like Marcellus Wallace's soul in the, for Pulp Fiction.
The 83 gigabyte hard drive, which is being auctioned off by GottaHaveRockandRoll.com, starting Wednesday, will have an opening bid of $10,000. But we're told by people in the know that auction heads think someone will throw down way more for it, about $600,000 or more. Why is this thing so dang valuable, you ask? It's pretty simple, actually, especially when you get a gander at what's inside. Among the digital files, a sea of pictures showing Pac and his pals behind the scenes, either hanging out and or working on music and other projects. There's also a new version of Pac's song, Let's Get It On, that hasn't been heard yet. Not just that, but we're told there's also a plethora of legal documents that pertain to Tupac that Frank owns, such as depositions he gave, lawsuits he was named in, among other paperwork. And the bottom line is it's a very valuable collector's item for any hardcore fan.
I'd be more interested in what music was on it than pictures and legal documents.
10%, just to let you know, $600,000 for this hard drive. 10% of the proceeds are going to an official organization tied to Pac, the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation, and I probably did not pronounce that correctly, and I apologize for it.
Dustin, you with us?
I'm with you.
And my friend Andrew Donaldson is on the line. Oh my goodness, look at that handsome man.
Did you just compare me to Hans Gruber a minute ago?
No, they were going to throw me out of a window.
Don't do that. I need you. We have been high atop the Murchison building many, many times, and I've managed to never throw you. I don't think those windows even open, do they?
Because of people like me, those windows do not open.
We had to radio producer proof the Big Talker Studios up on top of the Murchison building so that nobody got any Monty Python ideas. The famous board meeting from Monty Python when the guy just opens the window and jumps out instead of having to sit through yet another meeting. So, good morning. Can you hear me okay? I literally dove at the computer.
You sound better than what I've been doing. You're the best sounding signal in my board right now.
A low bar, but I'm glad I cleared it. No,
hey, we're in a garage, man, and we're doing everything we can.
Well, I'm in my home office here, so as long as the 3-year-old in the next room over and the 4 dogs and the cat and the neighborhoods and various supernumeraries that pass through my home behave, this should work out okay, I think.
This sounds domestic. Andrew Donaldson is domesticated.
I have, I've got 4 children of my own. 2 of them are adults, 2 of them are teenagers. That's where I heard you talking about me. I wish I was doing policy. I was actually dropping my 15, almost 16-year-old off, and it's JROTC day, so we had a little bit of a uniform issue this morning.
Brass not polished?
Well, no, the brass was good, but we broke the prong off the back of the name tag. So I had to show her how to straighten off the prongs on the back of the name tag from my years of active duty service. So I had to fix that up right quick, and then the car line was a little long, so that's why I was a minute late. So I do apologize. Usually I'm pretty punctual, but doing what we can with it. It's all part of the magic that is me, my friend. You're never bored around my home. That's for sure.
Oh well, with the MASH style bug out of the big talker to my garage. Clandestinely, special operations under cover of darkness did we make this work. So this is all beautiful weeds in the garden.
Yeah, I've had to learn, and you helped me and our friend Yael a lot when I started doing, because first time I ever did radio was with you guys. Like there was no learning to crawl then walk. It was, hey, go do 3 hours of live radio with no background
we
whatsoever.
did throw you right at it.
It was like, you sure I shouldn't ease into it? And I sucked for 3 hours, but we got through it and we've gotten better. But
your 3 hours is far better than the 3 days we've had so far.
Well,
and I should introduce you. We have Todd here on one side. Say hi, Todd.
Hey, Todd, Howard.
And we have Dustin on a questionable connection. Dustin, you still there?
Hello, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Good.
Okay.
How you doing, Dustin?
No,
but no, we got a pretty good home rig now with the USB stuff, and
that does sound good.
Because you know, I've been doing my own show. I've got the podcast and YouTube show, and I've been doing some other media. And when you have to do live stream TV hits and radio hits, so I've had to learn this, and a lot of it I learned from you. So thank you, TK, for teaching me this stuff, and Yael had to kind of help me get this stuff. But it's definitely an experience learning how to do guerrilla audio from home or from garages or wherever, because people just don't understand. Like, I try to explain to my family all the time. I'm like, you don't get it. I need quiet. It's got to be quiet. So I kid people all the time. It's like, you think doing media and podcasting and TV shows, you think this, I do TV hits from my walk-in closet. Seriously, I just took all the clothes off one side and put some books behind me to make it look respectable. But but a lot of times I'm in my closet because it's the only place in my home where it's halfway quiet, and people don't understand. Somebody told me a long time ago, they're like, well, you don't need acoustic tiling. There's hanging clothes in there. It's basically acoustic tiling. Just go in your closet.
Jackets
and it sure works.
and sweaters.
Yeah, you're basically in a sound booth right off and I've got pocket doors in my bathroom because, again, I live with all girls. So from time to time, you know, I've got doors that lock in every part of my home. I told the builder to do that because I've got daughters. So no, you don't understand, man. I can be on the other side of the country in a hotel room by myself, and I will still lock the bathroom door just out of 16 years of habit. So when you go into the bathroom in my home, because we grabbed this house, it was stripped all the way down so we could get it built the way we want to. So the toilet has a pocket door, the bathroom has a pocket door, the walk-in closet has a pocket door, and they all lock. So anywhere I'm at, I can get a locked door behind me. So
man, you've created a labyrinth in your house.
Yeah, you got to keep these teenagers and dogs, and we got 4 dogs and a cat, and it's unmitigated chaos.
Now, I want to tie, because certainly Todd and Dustin are not aware of the connection you have to those incredible images behind you that I had not seen before, especially that bomber over your right shoulder. That's iconic right there.
Let me see. This is Skype, so I'm mirrored. So this one, that one right there. That's a C-130. That's Charlie West. That's Air National Guard, West Virginia Air National Guard C-130. Because I was active duty Air Force for 12 years, and I'm from West Virginia. So this actually came from my family auction last 4th of July. There got to be a little bit of a bidding war during the auction at the family gathering. So, but I got that. So that's that still has the Charlie West tail flash back when the military still lets you have some personalities. Now they're not allowed to do that anymore, but it still says Charlie West for Charleston, West Virginia. That's long been the nickname. So that still has the Charlie West tail flash on it, and I like that because that's where I'm from. And then on this side, which this is Magic Radio, nobody knows what I'm talking about right now.
Not yet. We will next week.
Yeah, the other side over here, the 4 pictures, that's my grandfather's destroyer in World War II. That's the USS Frank Knox in June of 1945 in the Sea of Japan. And he is on that in those pictures. It's a sequence of pictures for people that can't see it. It's a sequence of 4 pictures of them doing an underway refueling. So it looks like animation. At one point, the front third of the ship's actually clear out of the water. It's just a real cool pic. But my maternal grandfather, is actually on the ship when those pictures were taken.
Wow.
And we found that on, I think, NavSource. I found that online. Those 4 pictures in sequence of the Frank Knox, a Garing-class destroyer during World War II. So that's some of the stuff. And then there's the big one behind me. That's a C-17, which I have literally been on every C-17 in the U.S. Air Force inventory. So I spent a lot of time on C-17s, and so it's just some background stuff.
Now, do you think your grandfather was something of an influence on your own career?
It's complicated. I hope Mom's not listening because I got to talk some family business. My maternal grandfather's a very complicated case. This is a man, he was actually waived from World War II because he already had 5 or 6 kids, plus he was too old when World War II originally started. He was already into his 30s. He ended up enlisting. Yeah, well, as the war went on, they loosened the restrictions, and what happened was this is a, modern day we would have called him rednecks, country bumpkin hillbilly. He just wanted to hunt and fish and run around, probably never been more than 20, 30 miles from home in his entire life. He just wanted to hang out in the Gauley River Valley and fish and do those sorts of things. His best friend was killed in action in World War II. When that happened, and then the restrictions lessened as the war drug on, they took more and more people. When his best friend was killed, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. So you take somebody who's never been more than, outside of his river valley in West Virginia. Now all of a sudden he's in Bath, Maine as a plank holder on this destroyer that's coming off the works, and that's some earth-shattering stuff to somebody like that.
Yeah.
And he came home not good. He spent most of his life as with alcohol problems and abusive problems with his family. My mother grew up. We joke my dad grew up poor. My mom grew up something they don't have words for in the English language. I'm talking on weekends. They would just go hide in the woods all weekend to try to stay away from him, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Dirt poor, never had any money. My mom's the 9th of 10 kids. But at the end of his life, he got some religion. He reconciled with everybody, got himself, got right with his God and his family towards the end of his life before he died when I was young. I was very young. I have a few memories of him, but I didn't, I can remember him in a couple things. I remember fishing with him and things like that, but I don't really remember him that well. But it's something that holds over my family. So then when... nowadays we would have called that kind of stuff PTSD. We would have dealt with it in different ways. They did not. He dealt with it in a very poor way. So when I deal with my issues with stuff like that, it's definitely in the back of my mind of like, okay, just go get the help you need. Don't punish your family for 40 years, that sort of stuff. So it's an influence kind of as a cautionary tale, but it definitely is an influence. And I have my whole family's military. 3 of his sons were Marines. My uncles on my mom's side, they were all Marines. My dad's brother was career Army. His son, my first cousin, just retired about 2 years ago. He was a career Army officer. The list goes on and on and on. I did 12 years before I couldn't medically do it anymore. So it's a big military family. So yeah.
That's a big influence. And you have been there through a transition where there wasn't a lot of support for the psychological damage that the work was. Yeah. And now there's a lot more awareness, would you say?
Yeah. Well, I was already on active duty when 9/11 happened. So I remember pre 9/11 the way the military was pre 9/11, and everything changed in a big hurry. And then as a VA patient, which I am now, it's gotten a lot better. It was pretty rough when I first went into the VA system, and this isn't that long ago. I got out in February 2012. So February 2012, you're only talking 9-10 years ago. It has improved leaps and bounds how they deal with these things. A lot of it was just the medical research had to catch up to they poured a bunch of funding into it, but the research wasn't there yet, and they didn't have the background. And a lot of it is like guys like me, I'm 41 now. So a lot of guys like me that are of that generation, that 9/11 generation, they're just now starting to retire out or leave the service that did their 20 years. So you'll see even more of it improve now because as guys it's just the way it is. When they get out, then they want to deal with it. When they're active duty, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to deal with it. You want to just take care of the mission. So You'll see it get better and better as time goes on, especially now that the 9/11 generation is going to start cycling out and retiring out. I talk to guys that I served with all the time because I got out early, so they all call me like, hey, what do I do? How do I get in the VA system? How do I retire out? And you try to help them with stuff like that. You've heard this with the signal fire guys, the same things. Like the guys get out early, you get all the phone calls because you're the oddball that got out early, and I'm getting a lot of those the last few years as my guys kind of start coming out. And every single one of them's like, yeah, man, who do I talk to? How do I get support? things like this. But it's infinitely better than it was. The benefits are better. The systems, there's a lot of problems with it, especially access problems. But once you get into the system, it's infinitely better. But yeah, it's got a long way to go yet before it's, it's not what it could be, but it's better than what it was, because it was where they were literally giving these guys drugs that were driving them crazy, because they didn't. And to be fair to the doctors, they didn't know either. You know, they didn't know
you don't get. To shoot at a clock in the dark.
Yeah, they didn't understand you don't give narcotic antidepressants to somebody with PTSD because it will literally drive them crazy and they go home and kill people, because that was happening. And, they just didn't know. So now we have the research, we have the data, we have 15, 20 years of stuff, and they're going back now. And, guys I've sat in veterans groups at the VA for mental health, and I remember the first one I ever went to, because I still didn't want to be there, and I was still being a hardhead. I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. And the guy to my right was in his 70s from Vietnam. And he spoke first, and he said, yeah, I can't sleep at night until I walk the perimeter of my property, and then I go in my house, and I walk the perimeter of my house, and I check every door, and everybody's got to be asleep. And then once I do all that, I can go to sleep. This man was in his 70s. And I'm sitting there, and I'm 32.
And he used those words because it's still
he used those words. So he's been doing this 45 years at this point, and I'm sitting there at 32 or 33, and that's when the light went on in my head. I'm like, I am not doing that for 50 years. I was like, okay, I get it. I'll listen. I need some help. And so those guys are now getting access because of what's happening now, and God bless them, because they really didn't get treated well when they came home. But it success builds on success. So everybody in the system and the guys that are coming after us are going to have a lot better system and a lot less stigma.
And you're an author working with a number of media and publication outlets.
Yeah.
What is the primary focus of your writings? Have you written a book?
Well, I've actually got a book project that I've been sitting on for 2 years, because it gets bigger every time I touch it. But it's so personal, and it's such an important story that I've actually reached out to other people for help, because it went from I'm going to write an article to this it's something that I respect so much that I'm like, okay, I got to get people better than me involved here, because this is too big of a thing, sort of deal. But no, I write culture and politics because I want to be involved, and I want to help, and I want to make things better. It's a duty thing. I'd rather just talk about food, which I do a lot on my social media. The food stuff makes me feel better and brings people together, so we do the food stuff a lot, and I write about food. But the culture and politics is just a duty thing. It's a way to serve. It's a way to make the country better, and that's what I try to do with it.
And you have an article recently on the Young Turks, I think you mentioned?
Yeah, I've partnered with Young Voices. We've had a lot of them on the radio show over the years, as you know. And I've actually, go into enemy territory a little bit and go on some of the Young Turks program. But Dr. Rashim Ritchie is he's a progressive, but he always does a segment where he does what he calls his debate segment. But you go on and talk whatever the issues of the day are, and they're very gracious with us. And I've enjoyed it. But yeah, my thing with whether it's my writing or my media, I'll talk to anybody that's of good faith. Now, if you're just going to yell at me and call me names, or you just want to be a wackadoo, I'm not interested in that. But anybody that wants to have a discussion, I'll have that discussion. I'm not afraid of people challenging my beliefs or having an offset opinion. Democracy and representative democracy in America is supposed to be confrontational. It's supposed to be adversarial. We're supposed to have to work this stuff out amongst ourselves, and not just yell and scream and holler at each other. So anybody wants to talk, I'll talk. I'll go on your show and talk.
Civil discourse.
Civil discourse, I joke on my show and Heard Tell, my podcast, which you can find on all the podcasting platforms and YouTube now. Nice. Just type in Heard Tell or my name, Andrew Donaldson. You'll get right to it. But no, the tagline on my show is actually culture and politics without the caterwauling. Because that's all a lot of this stuff. And if you really listen to the news, because I have to keep up with it, it's just the same 4 or 5 stories almost every day. They just spin it around. And then when you watch network news, right? And then the reason I've had conservatives on, progressives on, libertarians on. When you watch a network news, it's the same 5 or 6 commentators for commenting on everything. It's like, well, if it's a cybersecurity story, I want to talk to our buddy John McCumber that's been on the show before. How about a guy that literally was one of the guys that invented cybersecurity. Maybe I should talk to him instead. Or we've got 3 or 4 lawyers that write at Ordinary Times with me. You know, if I want a legal opinion, I'll talk to them. I don't need a guy that got caught, you know, doing bad things on his computer in the middle of stuff. I'm not interested in his opinion. You know, there's everyday people that are experts in their field, and instead of just using social media to send cat pictures and complain about stuff, reach out and get to be friends with these people. You know, if there's a racial issue going on, hey, there's a lot of people that are of a different race, and you just go online and talk to them. So that's the kind of stuff I try to do. I don't want to just holler at the TV, because that's not, you know, get to participating and do something productive with your time.
Now, we discussed this off air when you were guest hosting at the studio, and we covered a bit of the topic of civics as a class in school.
Yeah.
Were you required to take civics in school?
Not only civics, but in the state of West Virginia, all 8th graders have to take 1 semester of West Virginia history. So you actually had to learn the history of your state where you came from. That's still a requirement to this day. Specifically, every 8th grader for 1 semester takes a test. It's called the Golden Horseshoe Test, and if you score high enough on it, you become a member of the Golden Horseshoe. It's thing's been around since the state basically started. So It wasn't just civics. You actually take a semester of West Virginia history. Now, they need to fix it because there's some whitewashing of the history there involved, but it's still a good thing. So it's not just civics. The problem you're going to get into with teaching civics, and by the way, my dad was a social studies and history teacher, so I got it whether I wanted it or not. But you got the same problem with civics as you do any other subject. Who's going to teach it? We have a generation. Coach. Well, you know, this is an excellent point. My dad was the social studies teacher, and he was the football coach. And that's exactly what he did until I was born. He quit coaching because he got busy with this crazy son of his. But those are the people that the coaches usually taught social studies. That's the way those things used to be. Who's going to teach civics? Because there's such a mess in how things are taught in the school system. Can you imagine the fight we would have over how we're going to teach civics if we went to do it? So it sounds good, let's teach civics, but there's a practical element of that. It's like, okay, who's going to teach it? What are they going to teach? Are they going to teach that America is the greatest country the world has ever seen, or are they going to teach that America is this great evil in the world and we need to tear it down and rebuild it? And I'm not advocating either one of those, although I'm in the former camp. But those are the debates you're going to get into with civic. We don't know who we are as a people real well right now, so we're doing a lot of lip service to, hey, let's teach what we are, when we don't have enough people to know who we are to teach those things.
I told you this guy was smart.
I feel like you teach those things neutrally. That's how you do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And now with what you brought up, I'm curious if the civics course wasn't dropped from school because of these issues. But that was the last class was the graduating class of 1983 in New Mexico. So that's 40 years.
It's not just the civics. You know what else we've stopped? We've stopped teaching shop. We've stopped teaching art. We've stopped teaching. Music. It's a fight. Other than band, unless you're in band, you don't get a music class anymore. Everybody had to take music class when, I grew up in very rural West Virginia. Everybody took music. Everybody took art. You had
with
options
banjos,
to do,
right?
No, we didn't have. No, you didn't bring a banjo to school. It's too fragile.
You had the little plastic
7 and 8 years old with banjos are not a good idea. Because for those that don't know, the banjo, the surface area of the banjo is like a drum head. It's taut, but it makes a banging noise. So the problem with giving a kid a banjo is they just want to turn it into a drum, and bad things happen. And banjos are not an inexpensive instrument at all. It's a very
not a good one.
There's a lot of gatekeeping with banjo playing because it's not like a guitar where you can bang it around pretty good. Banjos are very specific items. I can't play a band. I can claw hammer one a little bit, but I can never get my fingers to wiggle right. But we don't teach those wider concepts like art, like culture, like music, like shop class, like go outside. We don't even hardly have recess anymore. Gym class. That's part of civic education too, because it gives you broader perspective. perspective, we're just making Ottomans that sit in, and I mean Ottomans as in robots, not Ottomans as in the Turks. We're making these Ottomans that just sit in a chair, regurgitate information to get a test score up, and then we're wondering, like, wow, they don't have any social skills. Well, you just answered your own question.
Yeah. When you standardize, you pretty much mold fit, and if you don't fit the mold, you get kicked out.
And it's not standard. The thing is,
well, the
what was
word
the
is
standard
standardized.
for? Well, what was the standard for? Was the standard to improve education, or was the standard to improve the machinations of education to keep the education to? I'm going to rip off my buddy and colleague at Ordinary Times, Jay Bird. He always brings this up. He said, we don't ever want to have the actual discussion with education. Is education in America about teaching students, or is it a giant jobs and daycare program? It's one or the other. And we as a country have decided that it's the latter. It's a giant jobs and daycare program because teachers are untouchable. And I love teachers. My parents are both teachers. Teachers are untouchable, and that's daycare. We learned that during this COVID epidemic, that's daycare for people. That's how we treat education. We're not treating it as teaching children and children learning, because we would do it very differently if we did. It's a giant jobs program. It's basically become like the post office. It's a sacred cow where we can't ever fix the problems.
Now, you've been in other countries.
Once or twice.
Have you noticed educational differences and the effect on their culture in your travels?
Oh, yeah. Especially, I lived in Germany 2 different times. The way they do school in Germany was jarring to somebody like us, where, 3 times a day, you just see these mass of kids walking down the street in the village. Because they walk to school, they walk home for lunch, then they go back to school for the rest of their school day, and then they walk home again. Just think of the cultural difference
as
of
a
that.
group.
As a group, mostly as a group, because they just walk through the village and then they, peel off when they get to their house.
Right.
And, Europe, you're still dealing with mostly tight villages. It's not suburbanized as much as it is here. But, just think of the cultural difference of that, where my kids, I'm going to spend probably 90 minutes today sitting in 2 different car lines just picking my kid up. Just little stuff like that. Not just the teaching stuff, but you're talking about culture and civics. That's ingrained into our system too. How they actually go to school, the way they do things, why they do things. That's part of the thing with the COVID thing is people got a good hard look at their education system, and most people didn't like it, but they don't really know what to do about it. And we're just reacting instead of trying to go, okay, here's our chance to kind of fix some of this mess. I think we've really missed an opportunity here, and we'll see what happens. But I'm afraid that we're actually going to end up making it worse than making it better with what we should have learned from this mess.
So there's definitely a hand-in-hand relationship with better education.
Well, think about it this way. What you really learn in school, there's 2 things you learn in school. You learn the material, the academics. What you're really learning is how to function in a society, because you're making this little miniature society in your classrooms, especially if you grow up with the same kids throughout, your school years. That's basically a microcosm of a community, which is a microcosm of a state, which is the microcosm of a country.
So it's more about the authoritarian structure than it is about...
It's your socialization.
Well, it's going to be whatever. You're going to be a product of the environment. So if you were in a situation in your educational career where it fostered learning and taught critical thinking and challenged you and nurtured you and said, hey, here's the wider world and here's how to learn about it, that's how you're going to come out. If you come, the school's funding depends on it, and to heck with your emotional and cultural needs to develop as a human being, that's how those kids are going to turn out. And it sure looks to me, just as a outside observer that has 2 kids still in the public school system right now, we're producing a whole lot of the latter of just kids is like, well, what? My own children during this lockout, they just look at it and they're like, well, what's the point of this? Because they could see their teachers. They knew which ones were. It was like, well, she don't care. What do I care? There's a lot of that. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
They pick up on stuff.
Yeah.
But to get to your greater point, you learn more in school from the way you do school than just the academics, and that's the part of this we don't talk about enough.
Boom. Now, for a little bit of reference, Germany is a little bit bigger than where I came from in New Mexico. But there are a lot more people in Germany than there are in New Mexico.
Yeah, Germany's population is like 80-some million since the rebuild, or since
restructure.
Well, they did reunification when the wall came down. So Well, two things happened economically to Germany in the 90s. One is the wall came down, so they had all the East Germans come flooding into the capitalist system of West Germany and had to meld all that together. Second thing is, remember, we closed almost all the military bases in Germany. We had a massive drawdown, which is a lot of our money into Germany that changed the country. But Germany's 83 to 85 million people, depending on which number you want to use. Let me look. 83 million as of last year, 2020, according to what I'm looking at. So you got 83 million people. That's a lot of people. Germany is also the engine that makes the EU go now, especially with Britain falling off. Germany is the economic engine that makes the EU go. So there's a lot to Germany. Germany's, and I just did a podcast on this, and I've also been writing about Germany's a country to really watch right now, because remember, Angela Merkel's leaving office. I believe it's this week she leaves office. She's been in power in Germany since before we had iPhones. Just think about that for a second. She speaks fluent Russian. She has been the front line, whatever you think of her politics, she's been the front line between Putin and the EU for 16 years now, and she's been kind of the go-to person on a lot of what's going on. So when you talk about Nord Stream 2, when you talk about what's going on in Belarus and Poland, my latest podcast out right now talking about how Belarus is weaponizing migrants, which is something Putin has kind of mastered. They're using migrants to weaponize against countries, in this case Poland right now. When you're looking at all this stuff going on in Europe right now and Putin's behind a lot of it, we're losing the one person that really had Putin's number on the world stage in Angela Merkel. And she's passing off the scene now. Now is the Schultz machine, the guy that's replacing Olaf Scholz, they call him the Schultz machine. It's not a compliment. It's because he has the If you think Angela Merkel doesn't have charisma, Schultz has the charisma of a beige hallway in the basement of a nondescript federal building. They call him the Schultz machine because he's that boring. He's literally like listening to the readout on a YouTube video when they use of course he does it in German. My German ain't good enough to do it, but he's that boring. He's monotone. He's boring. Is he going to be able to, kind of hold the Western wall that's been crumbling? NATO's a mess. These are major issues. Germany's one of those countries, especially Americans. They've been an ally for a long time. We have our largest expat population in the world in Germany, between military and other Americans in Germany. It's something we need to pay a lot of attention to, because what happens there is going to end up lapping up on our shores. It's better to pay attention to it over there.
I told you this guy was smart. And again, for reference, you said
I can
83
read
million
everything.
in Germany?
83 million population as of 2020, according to the Google.com.
Okay, so it's a little bit, size-wise, it's a little bit bigger than my homeland of New Mexico, which only has 2.1 million. So these villages are more independent and spaced out, as you said. So each village has its own school.
Clustered. Yeah, clustered's a good way to put it. They're still, like the farmers don't live on their farms. They live in town, then they go out to their fields and back, and their farm is actually in the village a lot of cases. So think of it as like a cluster. It's kind of a good way to think of it.
Like a little wagon wheel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Like I lived in two different places. I lived in Frankfurt, which is of course a major city, and then the second time I lived in out in the country, and in my little village, it's all compact, everything's tight, but if you go 2 blocks either side, you're out in the countryside again, because it's very compact. And remember, these villages predate roads. It's not like America where we built towns around roads. It's the opposite there. There were towns before there were roads. They had to make the roads work. So there's still that tight cluster.
That country is thousands of years old.
Oh yeah, the house I lived in Germany the second time was built in 1748, I think, and they just rebuild it every time somebody moves in. And it was considered, and my landlord actually called it the new house.
Yeah, so we read about history, whereas they're living in it. I mean, there are still
the
bullet
house was
holes
older
in
than
Frankfurt.
Yeah, my house that I lived in was older than America by 50 years, and he called it the new house because the other house he owned that he rented out was 200 years older than that.
So entire civilizations have risen and fallen, and these houses are still holding people.
It's crazy, and they build them to last, is all I can tell you. But yeah, it's funny because you watch, especially in our area like Wilmington or Fayetteville, where I'm at this morning, you watch how they build houses here and they throw them up in 45 days or whatever. In Germany, the building codes are so strict. If it rains, they're not allowed to work on the house for a week.
Whoa.
Like they take it that seriously. Like the building code, it takes you at least a year to build a freestanding house in Germany with the building codes. By the way, the other really funny thing is, what part of the building permitting process is you have to have the area swept for unexploded ordnance.
Ooh.
And they still find bombs all the time. It's every now and then, World War II bomb found in Germany. But part of the building permits over there is they have to sweep for unexploded ordnance from World War II to this day, especially in places like, Frankfurt and, places that were just burned to the ground, basically.
That is nuts.
So to this day, that's part of your building permit is they have to come out and they run not LiDAR. What do they call the ground penetrating radar? I can't remember the term right off. So LiDAR's the
metal detector.
The lateral one. No, it's actual. Yeah, it's actual radar that they do the ground penetrating radar like they do on Oak Island and those kind of shows.
People.
They got to see if there's anything in the ground before you start digging. So here, where it's like, don't dig for a utility line. There, it's like, don't dig. You might hit a bomb.
Todd, I can imagine like a little weekend gig in Germany where you're mowing somebody's lawn, and then poof, like your entire lawnmower just evaporates in front of you, and you're like, what? What just happened?
Yeah, they. Every now and then they find one, and the EOD guys got to go out and fix it.
Sorry, Dustin?
So that just wow. I'm sorry, that's just cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen pictures of modern day Germany. I think it was Frankfurt or Berlin, where some of the churches, I think it was specifically Berlin, there's a church at the end of a street, and some of the bullet holes from World War II are still there.
Yeah, there's a famous picture of the great cathedral in Cologne, which is one of the real famous cathedrals in the world. That's probably the most Gothic cathedral that was ever made. It just looks like something out of an evil storyteller. But there's the famous picture of the Panzers sitting inside of the cathedral where they were trying to hide it when they took the city, and there's a real famous picture of that. So that stuff, when you go over there, that when I moved into my little house in Moorfelden outside of Frankfurt, the old lady that lived across from my building, I had a 3-story building and the whole second floor was an apartment, and that was my apartment. The lady that lived next to me was super nice to me as an American, but she remembers as a little girl, she remembers Americans coming through the city. She can remember the tanks. She'll sit there and tell you like, oh, I remember when they came and made the Nazis go away. She was like 8 or 9 years old, and she'll just talk to you like it. She talks to you like that, like our parents talked about the 60s.
Wow.
Like, oh yeah, we went, it was like my dad talking about going to the Ohio State Fair to listen to Paul Revere and the Raiders. She's talking about, Patton's Third Army rolling through.
Imagine growing up in that shadow.
Yeah, but the older Germans were always really nice to us. I never had a problem with a German the whole time I was there, and I was there the first time when Gerhard Schroeder was in power, and he was very ugly, and now he's actually got business ties. He's basically a stooge of Putin. He's taking money from the Russian gas companies, so you can draw your own conclusions. But he was the one that was really against us and really ran against America. That's how Angela Merkel got in power, by the way. That's how far back this crap goes. Wow. He was really railing on Americans, but even with all the rhetoric he was spouting about how evil we were, I never had a problem out of German. The Turks downtown, that was a different story. You had to watch them. But Germans, I never had a problem out of a German.
Man. So you have a podcast going, and you also contribute to how many outlets and organizations?
Well, I'm the managing editor of Ordinary Times, ordinary-times.com. We've had a couple of our different contributors have been on the Big Talker from time to time. John McCumber, Eric Cunningham over at Elections Daily, who is now part of the Decision Desk crew. They're getting big now. He's been on the show a couple times. Mm-hmm. So we got a lot of people, really, really good folks that do stuff there, and that's where I spend most of my time. But yeah, I've had. I got to write the cover story for Washington Examiner magazine a couple months ago. That was a nice big deal. I actually got paid a little bit. That was fun. But yeah, things are. You can make money doing this. Nobody told me.
We paid you an exposure. What do you mean money?
The porn star business model is not for me, my friend. I don't need exposure. But no, it's. Yeah, let's get off this topic. This is going to be bad. It's a blessing though. You get to do. Look, I started writing. You know this but people don't know this. Back 2016, I was in the hospital for 4 or 5 months straight during the 2016 election. I sat that one out in the hospital. So that frustration of not being able to do anything and not being involved, to be involved, it's a blessing, and I try to take advantage of it. And I try to do good stuff with it, and not just bomb throw and be the evil genius y'all tried to figure out me to be out on the last segment. But do you not take commercial breaks? My throat's getting dry.
We can. It's just it's wonderful to hear the English language managed so well.
I'm a West Virginian man. My editor, if she's listening, hi Em, are you listening? She probably is. She's rolling her eyes right now because she's like, you don't understand the English language at all. You can't even use an apostrophe. So I will treasure that and send it to her. Like, they said I was a master of the English language, and she's like, you're not. You're crap.
Well, I've never read. To be fair, I've never read anything you've written, but your command of the English language is. Wonderful.
I can use words. I'm not good with the little symbols and spelling and things like that.
The little nuances and schwas and.
Yeah, the apostrophe. I'm always bad at apostrophes, and there's something called subject-verb agreement that I'm sucking at in life. I need to work on that apparently. So.
Yeah,
that
could be problematic for a reader. I could see that. Well, man, I appreciate your time.
Yeah. You want me to hang out for a while, or are you guys busy?
I'm not. I'm just trying to get Todd to, get off his phone and engage. I mean, he met a smart person, and now he's completely, stunned.
Man, I'm just letting you do your thing. I've never
this
been
is you too.
No, we.
I've never been to Germany either.
Yeah, it's roll down to your recruiting station. They'll hook that up for you. You won't even have to pay for it. It will cost you a lot, but you're not going to have to pay for it. No, it's a good thing. But yeah, I can hang out for a while, man. Take your break. I'm going to go check on this 3-year-old, and I'll hang out for a little while if you want.
All right, we'll be right back.
It's slow. Hold on now, baby. That love take its course. I'm feeling you, girl, you're feeling me. That's the way it's supposed to be. I lay you down and I'll go downtown. Move my tongue around until I drive you.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. Authorities say a 15-year-old sophomore opened fire at his Michigan high school yesterday, killing 3 students, including a 16-year-old boy who died in a deputy's patrol car on the way to the hospital. 8 other people were wounded, some critically. Investigators are still trying to determine a motive for yesterday's shooting at Oxford High School. The boy's father brought the gun used in the shooting on Friday. The House panel investigating the January 6 U.S. Capitol insurrection is preparing to vote on pursuing contempt charges against a former Justice Department official. The vote, expected later today, comes as the committee aggressively seeks to gain answers about the violent attack by former President Donald Trump's supporters. Jeffrey Clark is a former Justice Department lawyer who aligned with Trump as he tried to overturn his election defeat. Clark appeared for deposition last month but refused to answer any questions. Meanwhile, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has agreed to cooperate with the panel on a limited basis. Wilmington police are investigating the shooting that happened last night around 7 in the 3000 block of Market Street. One person was shot and taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The investigation is ongoing, but police say this is an isolated incident. And several agencies are collecting donations and household items for family who lost their home in a Tabor City house fire earlier this week. The Columbus County Fire Marshal says a 9-year-old girl who was sleeping woke up and discovered a space heater on fire in her bedroom early Monday morning. The 2 girls and 4 adults escaped from the home. Monetary, household, and clothing donations are being accepted at 4 locations: Tabor City Emergency Services, Fair Bluff Fire Rescue, Lake Waccamaw Fire Department, and Tabor City Fire Department. The town of Tabor City has also established a GoFundMe account to collect donations for the family. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. It's December 1st, marking the start of meteorological winter, and it's certainly not going to be feeling like that today as temperatures jump into the upper 60s, a few degrees above the average for this time of year. And we're going to stay dry and quiet heading into the overnight hours as well, and our temperatures not going to be as cold as they have been the previous few nights. Temperatures will be dropping down into the low to middle 40s overnight for coastal and inland communities. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Government has become too big, too overtaxing, and is constantly overregulating every aspect of your life.
If you agree with that, tune into Consumer Choice Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM with me, Yael Osowski.
And me, David Clement. For an hour, you'll get expert analysis on what the government is sinking its teeth into next and how you, as a consumer, can push back.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Sorry about the misfire there, my friend. Are you back? I hope I hear you.
Yep.
There we go. So, one of the things I am dying to know, as somebody who writes about culture, what do you think is the greatest issue facing American culture?
Ignorance.
I told you this man was smart.
I will rely on my father, who was an educator for 35 years. Every time he'd get his briefcase and go out the door, he goes, well, another day of going and stamping out ignorance. He didn't even call it teaching. He said, I'm going to go stamp out ignorance. I'm being a little facetious, but the problem most people in America have is they don't know what they don't know.
Okay.
They just don't know what they don't know, and we have no humility whatsoever to just say, hey, I don't know that. So everything's just this hot reaction of, oh, well, I'm going to react to that with my emotions and my feelings and my feels, and I'm going to fire off this Facebook post, this Twitter post, or this Instagram or whatever. And they have no clue whatsoever what any of they're talking about. And it's not a real popular thing to just say, well, I really don't know about that. Let me go read about it, and I'll post about it in 2 days.
Now, what I find interesting is that we have Google in our pocket that I didn't have when I was a kid in school, that anytime I got curious, I had to go, dive ankle deep into the card catalog of the Dewey Decimal System. Now I can just ask Siri whatever I want to know.
Pull out a calculator and try to write a map with a Sharpie on your palm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember microfiche? You go to the library and get the screen. We have the entire breadth and depth of human knowledge in the palm of our hands, literally in the form of a smartphone. Your average smartphone has more computing power than all of NASA had when we put a man on the moon. And we use this to snap pics and yell at each other.
Yeah.
That's the problem right there. People just
do other countries do this? Do you see this?
Yes. Yeah.
To the same level, same degree? I mean, do you find, is there a correlation with obesity and ignorance in these cultures?
Well, here's the problem. Our technology, here's what I say about social media, because people always want to talk about social media. It's like money, power, and alcohol. It's just going to amplify what you already are. It's an amplifier. So if you're silly and ignorant and goofy, when you get on social media, you're going to be silly and ignorant and goofy. If you're thoughtful and measured and try to do good things, that's going to show up in your social media as well. So when I'm joking around about ignorance and different cultures, here's the problem. We have such a decadence with our culture right now. And it's not that we have all these great blessings, it's what we're doing with them. And a lot of it is we're just indulging ourselves instead of actually applying them to try to do something better with it. I mean, I just wrote a piece. I just did an interview yesterday for a station out in Utah. The state of West Virginia, where I'm from, they've still got like $137 billion of their CARE Act money from last year they haven't even spent yet, and they got to spend it by the end of the year or they lose it. And one of the funny things is because Governor Jim Justice, he's been running around. Have you seen the Do It for Baby doll ads? This actually got on the national news. He carries his big bulldog around, and Jim Justice is about 6'6", 400 pounds, so he's not a small dude. That's not a joke. The dude's, he's like a moving mountain. He lumbers. And he's got this big fat bulldog named Baby. So his whole vaccination campaign has been do it for Baby Dog, and he holds up Baby Dog, who looks like he wants to be anywhere other than where he is right now. And the poor dog's just like, just get me out of here. But come to find out, they have $137 billion they haven't spent yet, and he spent $11 million doing this PR campaign in what's basically a game show, going around the state giving away scholarships and trucks and cars and all this other stuff to people to get vaccinated. It's like, what are we doing? Like, you're spending $11 million and you can't spend $137 billion. Like, what? But this is what we're talking about. It's all optics and show and narrative. Same thing with our news media. It's optics and show and narrative. It's the way our Congress is legislating, optics, show, narrative. It's the problem I have with President Biden. It's all optics and show and narrative, and there's no substance to any of it because the substance starts with some realization of what we do and do not know. And people just don't want to admit in an age where they can Google stuff and pretend like they know because they can just Google it and spout it off real quick and regurgitate it like we said with the education system. That's the problem. So I'm saying ignorance a little bit facetiously, but ignorance is a process, and a lot of people have gotten to be masters of it.
What do you think the opposite of ignorance is? What is your antithesis, your Bellerophon?
Wisdom. Very wisdom. Now,
now, I've heard wisdom is an equation. Wisdom is knowledge coupled with experience.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Another one of my dad's Alanisms was there's no substitute for experience. I think there's a big thing. I've been kicking around trying to figure out how to write this, but I don't know. We have a big problem in American culture right now where we're doing a lot of secondhandism. We want our life experiences to be secondhandism. We want our cultural identity to be secondhandism.
This is sounding like some Fight Club stuff.
Well,
open this up.
There was some stuff, but yeah, now that you mentioned Fight Club, here's what it is. Everybody wants to just get their group online, and then they get their avatar online of a talking head or a political figure or a commentator or whatever, and they go, oh, I'm going to follow that person. And they become their avatar, and then they just take on that identity and spout off everything they say. But now you have a second-hand identity, at least publicly and at least in your social media, your commentary, and whatever else you're doing. It's all secondhand stuff. They don't really believe. People talk about, well, how can you follow, whether it's Trump or Biden, or how can you just follow this political figure? Everybody just changes everything they are over the political figure that's in power. That's how, because they're just taking secondhand whatever's going at the moment that they think is what they believe, and they just follow that. And they're just going to always do this pendulum swing back and forth, and they're never going to have any peace of mind. You get wisdom from experience and peace of mind, and if you're just chasing the next best thing that you think is right without actually ever challenging it in your own heart and mind to test it and see if it's truth, then this is what happens. So you wind up with the real wackadoos of the world on the two extremes. They're just going to, you can just stand still in politics and watch people rush back and forth every 4 years because it always happens. And that's why they have secondhand experiences instead of just concentrating on their own experiences, their own beliefs, and their own principles, which would make them stronger, make them less susceptible to unworthy schemers. And it would make the rest of us a lot happier because we wouldn't have to listen to their nonsense.
Yeah. Now, when you say that the person adopts the personality or secondhand, I mean, that's been a problem. Well, it's certainly been an aspect of our cultural development for the past 200 plus years.
Oh, 4,000 or 5,000 years.
Yeah,
Look, human nature doesn't
fair
change.
Enough.
Human nature does not change. Human nature is undefeated. Humans are going to human. And the fact that we can just have technology so we amplify human and take pictures and videos of it as it happens in real time is just letting people in on the fact that human beings are still going to be human beings no matter how much technology and how much money and how much, success you have. We're still frail, flawed human beings that do really, really dumb stuff unless we work really, really hard at it. And a lot of people aren't working really hard at it.
And that's probably what you would couple with the ignorance as the opposite of experience and wisdom.
Well, and you can't make people do the right thing.
Can't make them drink the water.
You can lead a horse, but you can't get them to drink the water. We've got this idea, especially in politics. If you look at the news cycle right now, where everybody thinks their side's going to win, and they're like, "Well, it's our side and your side." No, it's actually three sides. Look at the 2020 election. People voted for Joe Biden. People voted for Donald Trump. And then there was an equal amount of people, almost equal amount of people, that took a look at that hot mess and said, "Nah, bro, I'm good," and sat home and did nothing. So it's like, no, you're actually not a half. You're a third. And one of the other thirds doesn't even know you exist because they don't care. And people don't want to keep. So we're focusing on a third fighting a third, and the other third doesn't want anything to do with the other third. That's pretty unhealthy.
and PR. It wasn't about issues and policies.
Yeah, and it's not just national elections. Look at the numbers from municipal elections. When you have local elections, municipal elections, city elections, the turnouts are usually like 15, 20, 25, 30%. Like nobody goes and votes in those. But you know what? You know who gets elected in those? Prosecutors, school board members. What's dominating our news cycle?
Your daily life.
Yeah. What's dominating our news cycle? All these high-profile cases like the Rittenhouse trial, where we have some really questionable prosecutors. Those guys were all elected. But I guarantee you, if we go look, the turnout on those elections was super low. But we want to complain when it shows up on TV. What else is happening? All these people showing up at school board. We just had this conversation yesterday with a guy out in Utah. If you go to a school board meeting, which we've advocated, you've heard me. I've sat on the air on the Big Talker with you and said, go to your school board meeting. Well, the last year, all kinds of people are going to their school board meetings, and then they go to school board meetings. I can't believe these school board members won't listen to us. You just answered your own question, because that's the first time you've ever gone to it. You've ignored it for years and years and years, and nobody ran against these people. And then you show up and go, "I can't believe these lunatics are on the school board." Well, you did that. Either by omission or commission. You just answered your own question as to how that happened. And I'm not trying to just be critical, but if you're going to show up and complain, understand things don't happen in a vacuum. They happen in a sequence. If your first school board meeting was the experience of, "I can't believe these totalitarian dictators are destroying our community," it's like, well, where were you when they stood for office? Sorry.
No, that's...
Before I did politics and I was a transportation guy by trade. Transportation is an A to B job. A thing has to get to B in C amount of time for D amount of dollars, or nobody makes money. It's just got to get done. We don't have a practicality to our politics anymore, where we just want to talk in the ether as if this stuff isn't all connected, and it's all connected. And it all starts, like you just said, with human behavior. If you're not going to acknowledge human behavior, that most human, what's the famous line from Men in Black where it said, humans are smart, people are dumb, because they get in herds and they just start.
An individual is
that's
smart.
What this is. An individual is smart, people are dumb, because they get in a herd and they just kind of start following each other. We don't want to talk about human nature. We don't want to talk about our own part that we played in whatever's going on right now, because everything affects everything. We don't want to talk about how we got here. We just want to rail on what we're going to do to fix it later, but that's never going to work, because you won't admit what the problem was, and you won't admit your part in it in the first place.
Because there's no money there.
There's not only no money there, but nobody wants to hear it. People don't like
boring.
Mirrors. Why do you put a mirror in the bathroom? Why don't you put a mirror in front of your front door?
See, I told you this guy was
Why are there only rear view mirrors in your car? People don't like mirrors. We need them, but we don't like them.
We don't use them the way we should.
You know what representational government is in the American system? It's a giant mirror. and we dress ourselves up, we conduct ourselves a certain way, we put on certain clothes, and then our representative government is a big mirror to make us look at what we've done, and people don't like it. That's the problem.
Of course not. Oh,
I should write that. That was good. I need to write this stuff down.
It's recorded. We can transcribe it later. Now,
Oh, Lord, don't do that. I had somebody, God, sorry, I had a writer one time. He's like, I'm just going to transcribe this podcast and send it to me. And it was gibberish. Like, don't do that. You got to write it out, buddy, because especially with my accent, you want to, let me put it this way. Y'all does not go out well on a computer transcript. I start talking about hollers and bangers and, things going on up yonder and things like that. And
my
don't
Siri
transcribe.
My Siri text-to-speech is to die for. Some days.
My spell check changes everything to more wrong spellings, so I hear you.
Or the wrong idea, like sense. I meant sense yesterday, not sixth sense.
Like the Bruce Willis movie?
Right.
Since we were talking about hairless Bruce Willis. See, I think, by the way, not to hijack the conversation, we need to have a conversation about Bruce Willis's hair like you guys were having. Like, bald Bruce Willis was not as good as hair Bruce Willis. It's almost like the Brad Pitt theorem. Have you heard the Brad Pitt theorem? Like, when he's dirty in a movie, it's a good movie. If he's clean in a movie, it's a bad movie. Same thing with Bruce Willis, I think. There's something there. We need to explore it.
So you think the later Bruce Willis was not as strong of a character in his roles than Widow Peak Bruce Willis?
No, I think
he gives me hope.
Yeah, we got to know about this.
Sorry,
we got to hear your insight about this.
I was listening as I was dropping my kid off at school to the conversation about holding on to the widow's peak at all costs. You lose your identity when you give up on that. I think there was something there because now he has already been, as a character, he has already been neutered. He has already given up on life. He has already bowed to the fact that he's just middle-aged, hanging on.
It does look that way.
It's like let me see. Let me try. He's given up. So it's like, well, why do I care if this Russian terrorist blows everything up? I don't have my mojo anymore anyway. Why do I care? Although I will say this. The Die Hard movie with Justin Long in it, which was the guy you were referencing and saying you hated
Live
it.
Free or Die Hard.
Have you ever, you need to go on YouTube after the show today and look up Kevin Smith talking. Have you ever listened to Kevin Smith talk about making that movie? Because Kevin Smith was in it, the famous director of Clerks and a bunch of other stuff. He's in the movie. Go watch his YouTube clip of him describing how they fixed the pivotal scene in that movie. And he just grabbed a laptop and rewrote it and what Bruce Willis was telling him. Because he was talking about how Timothy Oliphant, who was playing the bad guy in that movie, he's like, well, he was playing it as something I can't say because it's an FCC violation. He's like, he's playing him like a wimp. He's like, well, just Kevin Smith's like, it's like, man, just give me a laptop. I'll fix this whole movie in like a half hour. And the studio refused to do it. They sit around for like 2 days, and finally Bruce Willis gets on the phone with the head of the studio and goes, yeah, you're going to let Kevin Smith rewrite this scene. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Who else do you have to play John McClane? Okay, thanks. Hangs up the phone and goes, all right, Kevin, rewrite the scene. You got to go check it out because that's. But to defend that movie a little bit, there's that good little nugget in there. But Widow's Peak. Was he really trying to save Nakatomi Tower, or was he just trying to hold on to a piece of his own manhood and what it meant to be an American man in 1980s America? I think we've just ruined the entire ethos of John McClane when he shaved his head and gave up. Because he just said, I'm middle-aged.
Todd's head has just like he has wallpapered my garage with his head after you just said that.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
I mean, see, Bruce gave me hope back then. Like when he was doing Moonlighting with Sybil Shepherd, I think it was.
Yes.
The Widow's Peak that I was developing at that time was, certainly premature in my opinion, and it gave me hope that you could be a strong character. And you're saying that the progression since then,
still have your youth and like look older and still take out a bunch of terrorists.
Although the end of that movie where he shoots the terrorist through his own shoulders, through his own gunshot wound, is pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was a good scene. But that movie had some let's be generous and say there was some plot holes in it. And then the last, I still haven't even seen the last one they did where they were in Russia or whatever. I still haven't even watched that one because
so funny.
now we're
Jack
in
Jr.
John McClane's Random Children that we never knew about before.
Oh no, we knew him in the very first movie when when Hans Gruber threatened, or when Dick showed up at the house and threatened Maria, the housemaid, that he was going to call INS if he didn't get an interview with the kids.
Yeah.
That was Jack Jr.
They just did a thing.
He
Remember
worked for
Dwayne Johnson,
CNN, I
The
think.
Rock, did the skyscraper movie a couple of years ago, and it just got panned because everybody was comparing it to Die Hard, which, Die Hard was a ripoff of, a couple different movies anyway.
Right.
But the problem they said, and I thought it was a good point, he's like, look, Skyscraper doesn't work because you don't have a Hans Gruber. If you're going to do a Die Hard ripoff, you got to have a Hans Gruber, and the villain's weak. And all the other Die Hards, you just never had another villain that was as good as Hans Gruber. And, God bless Alan Rickman, who was just one of the greatest actors we've ever had. The man was amazing. But, you have to have the strong villain to have a good hero. And it doesn't matter how good the hero is if he doesn't have a villain. It doesn't matter if it's a movie or a TV show or real life or pro wrestling. You cannot have a great hero unless there's a great villain. It just does not
Chimera
work.
and Bellerophon.
Was that English?
Yes. You don't know the story of Chimera and Bellerophon?
Oh, Chimera. Okay, I didn't know if you went Pentecostal and was speaking in tongues or what happened there. I didn't know. I know you hit me with Frank
My
Zappa
tongue
lyrics
is
sometimes. I
fat.
thought maybe you'd gone to that. I don't know. Did he ever tell you the story? TK, this is way off topic, but he played a Frank Zappa tune live on the radio, and I just straight up broke character on radio. I'm like, what is that? I didn't know what it was. It was weird sounding to me.
Well, weird would encompass much of what I have to offer to the world.
This is true. You're my favorite disgruntled hippie, and I love you very much.
And I am in awe of your depth of understanding of the world. I mean, it's so succinct to be able to say, all right, in one word, what's wrong. I didn't even say one word, what's wrong with our culture. You just put it in one word and... Okay, so my theory.
Go.
Do you think that there is a certain complacency in our culture as a result of having a smartphone in our pocket that we know we can ask any question anytime?
Yes, and
that
it's
we
bigger than that.
substitute it for actual education, reading, literature?
Yeah, there's a big... God, we need 2 hours already to delve into this. I've been trying to think about how to work on this. There's a really big thing with American history, and I'm a big history guy. There's a big thing, America as a whole, we have not reckoned with the end of post-World War II America yet. I mean, we joke about boomers and millennials and zoomers and whatever extraterrestrials, whatever the next group's going to be. We haven't reckoned with what post-World War II America was. The post-World War II America economic and cultural boom is such a unique event in the entire history of the world. Like, the world's never seen anything. The industrial explosion, the economic explosion.
And the empowerment of bringing in a second income for women.
All of a sudden, everybody has a car, maybe 2 cars. Lots of people start owning homes. Lots of people have, upward mobility for the first time. A lot of people can move around the country. The interstate system goes in, which is something that people don't appreciate how much that changed culture. You think social media changed stuff. Do you understand what the interstate system did to America with the advent of affordable cars for just about anybody that wanted one? That's culture change. We have not reckoned with that because we've been living off the fumes of it for about they call it zombie Reaganism. I think that's a little harsh, but we are definitely living on the fumes of the baby boom generation, not the people group, but the economics of what happened from the early 50s through the early 70s until the malaise of the late 70s hit. And then the 80s, you have another economic resurgence, but it's really just a hiccup from the previous one where they kind of fixed it. We're still running off the fumes of that as a country, both culturally, economically, power base wise. That's why we're having so much things with things like racial strife and things like that, because those people groups got left behind on a lot of that stuff in the 50s and 60s because of the civil rights movement. They had to wait their turn to get what white America got in the 50s and 60s. We just do not have a reckoning on the culture shift that we're living through. I'm generation gap because my parents were boomers. They were in their mid 30s when they had me, so I'm a little gapped. I'm 41 now. But my parents' generation, like I talked about before, dirt poor, they were the first generation as far back in my family as you want to go that wasn't dirt poor, all the way back to the old country. They were always poor. Now, all of a sudden, almost every single one of those kids, with few exceptions, went to college or had a successful career in other ways. And then that completely changed our family. And that story is millions and millions and millions of people in the 60s and 70s. That's the first generation that got, career type jobs, got college education, got mobility. And now you have media, TV, radio, where people have mass information for the first time. That's what that boom is. We're having that boom now with social media and technology. But the difference is, it's not industrial-based and it's not career-based. It's information-based and it's personality and culture-based. So this is something that's this is a big, big topic that you can't talk about just on radio. You could probably write a volume of books on it. This is the stuff that's really mattering in our country right now, because what's going on in politics fits under that. What's going on economically fits under that. What's going on culturally fits under that. We are having that 50s, 60s boom, and then the 60s, counterculture. That's what we're doing right now, but we're doing it with technology, and we're doing it in a very unsettled world. And our country, the underpinnings of our country are not as strong as they were in post-World War II America, especially fiscally, especially, size of government, these things. That's a huge, big topic that people aren't addressing, but that's the root cause stuff of what's going on. So that's something we should talk about and explore. And I've been trying to get my brain around, and I just can't because I'm not smart enough. But when I talk to really, really smart people, those are the things I start trying to talk about with them.
I could see that. Now, do you think that the fumes of which you speak are American vapor from since World War II? Do you think that
sounds a little French to me?
Trying to. American fries, freedom fries. Do you think there's like a undeserved sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
I know
we saved the world. We're morally superior to the rest of the world because of our involvement in World War II.
Here's our problem. We should be great without being morally superior. And I know that's going to rub some folks the wrong way, but let me explain what I mean by that. We have greatness, but our greatness is us standing on the shoulders of greater people than us.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I have a lot of pride in being American. I've got I could not love my country more. I serve my country. You know, because we've talked privately, things I don't want to say on air. I love my country. It is incongruent to me to say I love my country, but I hate 2/3 of it or a third of it because of politics. We have to have some humility here to say my country is great, but my country has problems. But it's not great because of what I did, because I'm only 41 and I haven't been on this scene very long. Like, I did my bit, I think, in certain areas, but this isn't mine. We are stewards of that greatness. And if you take that approach of you're a steward of it.
I love that word.
Yeah, the stewardship of it. If you're a steward of the greatness, then you take the moral superiority off of it. And instead of trying to just, puff your chest out and walk around about it, then you're going, okay, how do we keep it and how do we do greatness for everything? And the greatness to me is not, some of the things we talk about. My thing with politics now and with my country is I want the most people possible to have the most freedom possible. That's where it's at. And then, because we have to have law, we have to have structure, but I want the most people possible to have the most freedom possible. That's what makes America great, because then it unleashes the people to be everything they want to be. And the more you restrict freedom, the less people can be, because the people by and large are better at figuring out how to be great than somebody telling them how to be great.
Good.
If that makes sense. So that stuff all fits together. Our country is only as great as we let our people be great. not to get sermonizing about it, but that's the problem. Everything now is, well, let's take our government and make people do X, Y, and Z. You're not going to get greatness that way. You're going to always wind up with mediocrity because that's all it could ever be. You're already limiting our country and you're limiting the people.
And the
so give
education
people
of
freedom
those
and let
people.
them go. Yeah, and we've already established we're not educating anybody. We're just, we're pushing them through.
Stomping a mark on their head like a UPC code.
But it's worse than that because we've talked education on the show before, we're funneling all these kids into a college system that half of them have no business being in anyway. And the other half, and then because it's a money-making thing, you want to prognosticate a little bit here. The next big thing we're talking societal change is going to be the collapse of the higher education system. That's the next big domino to fall.
Universities or graduate schools or
it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. I mean, that bubble is going to pop. It's just unsustainable. It's like the housing boom, the tech boom, the higher education boom it's going to pop at some point. It has to. You cannot have the type of money going through because people are just fed up with it. And people are not going to. I'm not going into six-figure debt for a degree that doesn't mean anything just so these people can have tenure. It's coming. That people are going to start pushing back on that, and that's going to change the secondary education system. You got to think from right now, from kindergarten on up, everything's towards funnel kids to college.
Right.
So if the higher education bubble pops like we think it's going to, that's going to change everything. The COVID piece was part of it because people are paying attention to the education system for the first time in their whole lives, mostly because they had to. They just send your kids off to school and nobody cares. Now they had to pay attention to it. This stuff, I know this is all, we're way out in the weeds on thing. We're way out in the weeds on all this, but what did COVID really teach us? It taught people that, well, wait a minute, these things don't just happen in a vacuum, because now I've got to see it. Now my kids are at home, and I can see their teacher interacting with them. And I can tell, let me tell you something, when my kids are on home, because I was home with them every day, unless I was with you, every day, I knew within a week which teachers knew what they were doing and which ones didn't. There was nowhere to hide. Because I can see them on the screen now. I'm watching them teach my students. And the kids know. So it's not just your kids coming home and saying, my teacher's a moron, and you're like, no, respect your teacher. Now they're saying, my teacher's a moron, and you're watching it like, oh, my God, your teacher's a moron, which is the exception. Most teachers are great. I'm using the extreme here. But that changes people.
And that validates the child as well, that their assessment was accurate.
Well, think of it this way. My youngest daughter was a straight A student, went to not doing anything during virtual. She just look at me and she would just look at me and go, why? They're going to pass us anyway. They can't fail us. Why should I do the work? Now, that's an integrity problem I got to deal with as a parent. But the problem is I can't tell her she's wrong because she ain't, because they pencil whipped all them kids. They made it state law in North Carolina. Nobody could get less than a 50 so they could pencil whip it up and pass everybody. She knew it. The kids knew it. They're not stupid. They knew they were going to all get passed. They knew
got
it was
Google
all
too. I mean, that's the thing.
Teachers have not adapted. Kids are Googling what their teachers are telling them in the minute. I talked to a pastor a while back, and he said the same thing. He's like, the biggest change is I have to make sure I have everything exactly right because people are in the pews Googling what I'm saying as I'm saying it. Wow. Think about that. He's like, I've got to be on my toes because if I can't just say stuff because there's some smart aleck teenager sitting there Googling it the second, and they'll have it on. They will have it on their social media that my preacher was wrong before I'm done giving the sermon if I'm off.
Wow.
And it's the same thing with teachers, and it's the same. Hey, parents, guess what your kids are doing? If you try to gaslight your kids, that's going on social media to all their friends before you get out of their bedroom.
Yep.
That's the world you're in. So guess what? When I say we need to really be interested in truth, don't worry about being the right and left. Be worried about getting it right, because truth and authenticity.
Do that again. Do that again.
I can't. You blow the moment. You can't tell a joke twice.
God,
but
dude, that was beautiful.
You got to authenticity and truth and realness is going. That's if you're doing media, if you're doing radio, if you're doing YouTube, whatever, you got to be authentic because that's going to be the currency of the realm now. Because these kids coming up, the generation coming, I do all this young voices stuff. I'm telling you, people don't care whether they agree with you or not half as much as they care whether you're real or not. So and the education system has a lot of not real to it right now. Politics, there's almost no real at all, and that's why people are fighting against it and they're bucking against it. They're not interested in an education
They just want
system.
reading, writing, arithmetic, so you can push the buttons and pull the levers.
Yeah, they're not interested. You're losing these kids on education because they can tell that it's just a big machine, and they don't want any part of it. They don't want any part of it. They don't see anything in it for them, and they can Google it and tell that there's nothing in it for them.
And certainly with all the regurgitatable information that they're being shoved and stuffed with is easily accessible on their phone. So
that's why
that knowledge is not necessary, but the integration of the knowledge into the real world, like the video I saw, the guy asked his girlfriend while they're driving down the road, we are going 60 miles an hour. How far will I go in 1 hour?
Right. Well, here's the problem, and I don't want to get into the Common Core stuff, but when we change teaching from get the answer right to you have to find the answer this specific way, man, we're off the plot. You're so far off. Why are we teaching that you have to find the answer this way? And I understand, because mathematics, either the answer is right or it's not right. What are you really teaching the kids? Oh, I don't care whether you know this or not. I care about how you do it. How does that come across to a smart aleck teenager? I've had 4 of them. I will tell you right now how it comes across. Well, you're full of it. I don't care what you know now. That's how it comes across when you're teaching them. And it's not the teacher's fault, by the way, because the teachers are being told they have to do it.
They're given the book, and this is what you have to do now.
But when you take it, try it. Go find any 15-year-old in America and go, tell me how to fix this, and then contradict them and say, wait a minute, I don't care how to actually fix it. You have to fix it this specific way, and see what their reaction is. Now those people are all 20, 30 years old. They're voting. They're having children. You want to talk about political change? You want to know why they're all cynical? You want to know why they're disenfranchised or disillusioned with the country? That's why. You've ingrained it into them. Things don't happen in a vacuum. They happen in a sequence.
See, this is the smart guy. This is why I like him on the show. Todd has given up on the morning show, I guess. I don't know. You all right?
Sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, I think what happened, and it's hard for me sometimes to wrap my head around it as you're expanding on some of these things, that it's like I hadn't thought about it to that degree.
Yeah.
And certainly from my own point of view, I had been in the School of Education to become a teacher when I was a younger lad. And the same discouraging issues then are even more amplified now.
Yes.
And certainly, I mean, not just the pay, but the conditions. It's just brutal. It's not as supportive as one would expect. Yeah?
Yeah, I agree. And it's I don't want to just be all doom and gloom, because I think there's still a lot of hope, because I think people are going to want to do something different. So I don't want to do doom and gloom, and there's great teachers. Teachers are sandwiched between the administrative level that's exploding and the parents now, and the administrative level wants to use them as human shields. So I think we need to partner with the teachers against what's coming from them. On top of them is probably the practical level to start working on some of this stuff. And let me end with this, because we're going to run out of time. But the argument right now about parents versus teachers and the stuff we saw coming out of the Virginia election, where they're like, well, you don't ever, no. They're all wrong. The teachers and the parents have to be in partnership for the kids. That's how education works. The teachers and the parents have to be in partnership for the kids. Anything that's against that partnership relationship is something you need to be against, whether that's the administrative level, the political level, parents, other teachers, teachers unions, whatever. That's where I look. I was like, okay, education is a partnership between the teacher and the parent for the student. Anything outside of that, I'm going to fight you, because that's where it's at. So that's how I look at those things. And we can do that on a practical level with our kids and other people's kids and school boards and things like that.
Do you think it's possible for this to bring parents that may not necessarily of their own accord, be involved in the educational process of the kids, where they like throwing them out the door at 7:30 in the morning and not seeing them again until 4:30 in the afternoon. It's just a magical ether. Do you think you would get more of those parents involved in the process as well?
No, because they've already told you how much they care.
That's
But that's the problem with, and here's the
how
the
would you
thing
reach
is this,
them? How would you reach them?
You probably aren't. I mean, you can try, but if they don't care about their own children by the time they're 5 or 6 years old when they start going to organized school, again, human nature is undefeated, and at some point you have to have a little humility and go like, there's not a government program that's going to make people be better parents. There's no such thing. You can give people tools. I think we should, invest in communities. We should invest in schools, but you can't make them, and it's just the way it is. But that's the problem we saw with the COVID stuff. You have all these kids, these underprivileged kids in certain demographics and certain racial groups, and the poor kids. They just literally disappeared for 2 years. Like, they didn't even know where they were, a lot of them, because they're not online and they don't show up and got no way. Like, they just had kids disappear out of the whole school system. That should be unacceptable to us. And we're not even talking about it. We have most kids in America now are M. Carpenter wrote a whole piece at Ordinary Times about this. The last real school year, most kids in America right now are at least 1, if not 2 grade years behind where they should be right now. And we're not talking about it. What are we talking about? Oh, school board meetings and CRT, which is, we can talk about it, but, in the meantime, your kids are 2 years behind in your school system. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit.
Priorities. Man.
We're graduating kids that can't read, and then we wonder why we can't get people into the workforce. Well, if they can't read, they can't, other than being maybe a laborer, you don't have any computer skills. Good luck getting any job without a computer skill nowadays.
Now,
what
that
do we
is
do?
one of our friend Dustin's flags, I guess you would say he would carry for the Job Corps process that he went through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not like just trade schools or just college. More options where you can get education.
Job Corps was.
Yeah. Go, Dustin.
Well, Job Corps was it's government funded, and they had all the different trades and stuff. They have age restrictions, and they do have legal restrictions and such. But really, the awareness isn't there for it. Right? Not many people know about it.
No, we need more Job Corps. We need more tradespeople. We need more community college accessibility. We need more, like Fayetteville State here just did what Pembroke and some other do. They're now down to $500 a semester for in-state tuition. You have to make these things accessible to people. Do you know what plumbers are making right now? And they can't get them. I just had one out, last year. I had a plumber. I had to redo the line coming into my house, and he's like, I can have guys making 6 figures within 6 months if they'd hire. Nobody will work.
Wow.
Like, do you know what tradesmen make if they can't get people to work?
Skilled tradesmen, like a skilled welder, or a skilled diesel mechanic or boat mechanic.
On the Big Talker, you always have the housing folks on. You have to have 26 different trades to build a house. 26 different trade. Now, a lot of those guys have multiple skill sets, but you need 26 different separate trade skills to build one house. Like, tradesmen are never going to go away. This robot future, people fear somebody's got to fix the robot.
Amen. Somebody's
got to program the robot. Somebody's got to do, you're still going to have to build houses. I got a hole in my drywall. I got no clue how to fix it. Somebody's going to have to come fix it. That sort of thing.
So they may not necessarily need to know chemistry, but it would be nice for their educational system to provide them with the basics of social interaction, teamwork, civil discourse along the way.
Correct. And again, citizenship,
ethics,
social skills, all those things. Because guess what? Any job you have, you better know how to do customer service.
Because without no customer, there ain't no service.
You ain't gonna last long. This has been fun, buddy. Let's do it again.
We will. And again, this is Andrew Donaldson from theordinary-times.com. And as you've noticed, or as I have now verified, this is one of the smartest men I know. So I am glad to have you on, and we will do this more often, and we will bring video into it in the future. Not that you want to see my ugly mug, but having that the photo, the whole picture I see here for the listeners that can't see it, none of you can.
Just let me know when you do it so I can be a little better than my ratty West Virginia
Man,
zip-up
we're all going to
hoodie.
be mesmerized by those photos behind you, because that's amazing. That 4-piece over your shoulder is just, man, that's blood and glory right there.
Yeah, literally, they were. That was 3 days before a kamikaze attack, actually. So, yeah, literally. So it's humbling to look at that, and it's people that can't see it. It's a very stormy sea. The front third of the ship's clear out of the water at one point. It's one of the reasons I like this, and it's like in a sequence of photos, so it looks like an animation almost. And you got the whole front end of this destroyer, probably a good 3-4 feet out of the water, and then crashing down to the point that the whole front of the deck's washed. And you can see the guys in their weather gear, hauling the lines and doing the refueling, and you're just looking at it, it's like all those guys are dead now. That's that greatest generation we were just talking about that we're all living off secondhand. You're looking at them, that frozen.
And they're
moment
doing their
in
job
time.
in the middle of hell.
They have none of them have any idea that picture's taken, and we're sitting here staring at it. It's 72 years later, whatever it is. And one of those guys might be my grandfather, for all I know. I can't, you can't pick it out because of the resolution, but you can definitely see the individual guys all there around those gun mounts. He was a gunner on the rear 5-inch mount. That was his job. So,
man. Well, thanks again for your time.
Anytime. Let's do it more often now that we know that
much.
we figured out how to work. Yeah, next time. I've never been interviewed by TK before. That's backwards. So next time I'll do the question asking and y'all can talk.
Well, we're getting better at it and fixing stuff as we go along. So yeah, it's going to get stronger. The more equipment that I get away with, the better we'll do.
Always happy to be back on the Big Talker on 106.7 FM.
Oh nope, can't say that. Can't say that.
Yeah, I can't say that anymore.
No, we
but,
are the Big Talker Online.
Big Talker Online, buddy. But yeah, it's good to be back with you, my friend. Let's do more stuff in the future.
We will. Thanks again, man, and I will see you soon.
Anytime, brother.
Bye bye.
Do you or someone you love suffer from back pain, poor circulation, or struggle to get a good night's sleep? Do you just need help getting into or out of your chair? US Med Express is Wilmington's leading supplier of Golden Technology lift and sleep chairs, carrying a variety of models in our showroom at 1733 Dawson Street. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162.